up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Downtime with Downstar, episode 113. And today we're here with David Cordell of Hybrid Racing.
Yep.
David, what's up, man?
What's up?
Thank you for being here, bro. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to Zosh, too. He's the one that put in the plug.
He's a special dude.
Yeah, he is, man. I like it. And I would have always loved to have you in here, but it's so hard to know people, like, when they'll be in town or when we'll cross paths.
Right.
And it hasn't seemed like we've crossed paths much even this year.
Right.
You know, it always seems that maybe it's like at Joey's meet or at SEMA, but it's always just, you know, a quick hi, bye, hey, how's everything going?
I mean, I've only been out to the West Coast twice. This is the second time this year, so I was out here in May for IBOC.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'm back home or on the East Coast.
And usually when people come out, they're just so busy, you know?
Yeah. We have the whole team out there, and, you know, we've got a tight schedule, so it's tough.
So I definitely appreciate you making the trip out here. And you just got here right now.
Yeah. We've been here a few hours, but we got in the car and came out this way. I didn't realize it was this far outside of LA.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it's nice. I like driving, so it's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I appreciate you making it out here.
Man.
So for everybody listening, can you give us a quick breakdown of who you are and what you do?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't got to dive super deep into it.
No. I'm David. I'm part of Hybrid Racing. So we started in Louisiana. That's where we're based. We focus on, you know, K-Series engine swaps and drivetrain related performance stuff. I handle all the sales, marketing, a lot of the media stuff. That's it.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
So how long have you been with Hybrid?
Since day one.
No way.
Yeah. So we started September 2003.
Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy, man.
Yep.
You know my earliest memory of Hybrid, and it could be a lot of other people's earliest memory, is the YouTube video versus the Evo.
Yeah.
The EG versus the Evo.
Yeah. I was in that car. I was in the passenger of the EG.
No shit.
Yeah.
So that Evo, 22 pounds of boost.
It's bone stock car.
The Evo.
Yeah.
Is that how much they make stock?
I guess.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. So it's so funny. That video's so old.
Yeah.
I was in high school. You know, that was the first K-swap car we ever did. The first one I ever drove. That was Will's car, you know, our CEO. That was his car. That was his personal project. You know, that's where it all started. And, the guy with the Evo was a friend of ours. You know, I went to school with him, and he always had Corvettes and Mustangs. And he showed up to our shop one day with his Evo and, you know, was talking shit, you know, and we were like, well, if you want to run this Civic, let's go. And, yeah, dude, we destroyed him. But we were conscious. We were like, okay, we're going to get him. We should probably bring some cameras with us. And there was a camera in each car, and we rolled out on the interstate, and, you know, that was it.
That video was awesome.
Yeah,
man.
Will, and he took the footage and went back and edited it and put it together.
I think that was like one of the first automotive videos to go viral before viral.
Yeah, there was not even a YouTube. I don't even. What's funny is this, like, there's so many different versions of that video on YouTube now, and we have nothing to do with any of them.
Yeah.
Like some have hundreds of thousands of views, and it's like we get nothing from it, you know? It's like, whatever.
So was the original one with the Guns N' Roses on it?
Or Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Led
I think
Zeppelin.
it was Guns N' Roses, what's Welcome to the Jungle.
Something like that.
I think so.
Yeah. What, dude? Yeah. I mean, it's old.
Ages.
Old. Yeah.
Was that like 2005?
No, dude, that was like 2004.
Really?
Yeah. It had to have been because I was in high school. I graduated in 2004. Okay. And we were at our first official shop when we did that swap, when it ran. It had to have been probably mid 2004, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So
you're from Louisiana?
Yep, born and raised.
So let's talk about that a little bit. What was it like growing up out over there?
It's nice. I mean, it's the South. You know, it's hot.
Yeah.
Fucking sticky and humid, and you got to deal with hurricanes and flooding and, you know, stuff like that. So otherwise good. Yeah. You know, I was born in a town called Covington. Okay. And it's like the suburb of New Orleans. So it's north of New Orleans, north of the lake.
Like how far?
30 miles.
Oh, no way.
Something like that. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. That's where I was born, went to school there, grew up, and went to high school there. And when we started hybrid, it was, right there. It's all in that little area. And we got older, and some of the guys went off to college, so we moved to Baton Rouge to go. A lot of the guys went to LSU, to the school, to college, and yeah, that's it. That's where we are.
So growing up, what kind of stuff were you into, or was it always cars?
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up, my dad was a super big gearhead. Always had classic cars like Camaros and Corvettes and Mustangs and old Chevy Bel Airs and stuff, man. I mean, that's really what got me just into cars, hands down, Yeah, I think I've always just been into cars. I literally love cars. I love talking about cars and working on them and, thinking about them and, just everything about it. It's what I love to do. But up until, I had a driver's license, I skateboarded a lot when I was younger.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude, I say that all the time.
You'd never tell, but yeah.
I say that like almost every car guy either skateboarded or did some kind of like quote unquote extreme sport.
Yeah. I rode 4-wheelers a lot. We had land and stuff, and like, I'd always race 4-wheelers and ride dirt bikes when I could.
Yeah.
When I got older, I played paintball a lot.
Nice.
So I built paintball guns randomly.
Dude, paintballing was so fun, man. There was one time when I was working at Best Buy, and it was like Best Buy ended up being my second high school. Yeah. Because everybody that I hung out with, we all went to work together, so we all coordinated. And since we were in different departments, there was a chance that we could have the same day off, or one person would open, but they would be off by one. So we would be like, hey, dude, you want to paintball? So we had like a nice group, and there was this place out here in Oxnard where it was an abandoned, some kind of factory, right?
Dude, it was inside?
Well, it was an abandoned factory, but it was like falling apart, and it looked like some Metal Gear Solid kind of shit, dude.
Okay,
so
that sounds cool.
It was so awesome, dude. We would meet in the middle where it would probably be like the warehouse area. Right. There was an old table. We put all our bags there, and okay, you're on that team, you're on this. Okay, you guys walk this way, we'll walk this way, and just count 2 minutes. And then once 2 minutes hits, it's time to go, dude. So fucking rad, bro. That was like some of the best times of my life, man. Dude. Yeah. But paintballing was awesome.
Paintball was fun. I mean. So
growing up, were you into like hot rods and muscle cars like your dad?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of really. Look, I growing up, it was one of those things where my dad always had some kind of car, right? Like it was either, like I said, he bought a Fox body, when they were new, in like '89, he had one, and he had a Porsche 944 and just random cars, 55 Ford Fairlane and 56 two-door hardtop Chevy, like, so they would come and go, and just seeing him mess with it, and and I would go to car shows with him when I was a little kid, and we
no way.
Oh yeah, like the man, I don't even know what grade I was in. It was probably like 4th grade, something like that. 4th or 5th grade. He had a 56 Bel Air, red and white, 2-door hardtop that he restored, repainted it, did all the interior, had a small block Chevy in it. I mean, it wasn't like a hot rod, but it was kind of just like a nice, 2-door hardtop Chevy and Bel Air. And yeah, man, we would cruise to the milkshake place, and they had all the, his buddies, they'd have car shows out there, and it's like the first Friday of every month, we would be kicking it out there all night long. And that was really the first, I think, like memories that I have of, cars and just that kind of stuff.
So were you into it, or was he just bringing you along?
No, dude, I was into it. Like every day he would come home from work and I'd be like, let's go for a ride. Like every day.
Yeah.
And, he was about that life, you know what I'm saying? And when I got older and, he got rid of some of the classic cars, and he had a what was it? It was a Camaro.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a Camaro SS. It was like the first SS, like in '97 when they came out.
Got you.
And yeah, he'd pick me up from school one day. We'd be on the way home, and he'd be like, "Here, stop and pour this all over the road." I'm like, I'm like, what is this? Dude, we're out there. I'm like pouring bleach all over the highway. I'm not even joking.
No shit.
Dude, he would roll up and we would just do a rolling smoky burnout all the way down our road. And I'm like, hell yeah.
Dude, that's so rad,
yeah, dude,
bro.
He was about that life.
So he used to pick you up from school in the cars?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Full exhaust cammed out.
Dude. Yeah, and it's funny, is like the kids at school would give me shit for it.
Really?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like we'd be, be on the playground or whatever, and there was it wasn't his truck, it was one of his buddy's truck, but it was like a teal 55 Ford pickup truck, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this thing was tubbed out. I mean,
hell yeah.
Giant, 2-foot tires on the back of it, big old blower sticking out of the hood.
Yeah.
I mean, it was chopping in the carpool lane, just and I remember being like, are you serious? Like, he's really picking me up in this thing? Dude, it was blah, 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 blah. Just shaking the windows of the school. And, dude, we would just get in and rip ass. And
what would the kids say?
Dude, they would be like, I don't know. They would just...
lame.
Yeah, they would just throw shade because,
because their dads had minivans?
Yeah, right. That's just, that's how it was. Those kids are kids.
Yeah.
But, yeah, definitely. That's where it started.
Yeah, that was same for me, man. It was just when I first got introduced to muscle cars, I was like, that's it. That's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I ended up...
I mean... To me, that's all I ever know. That's all I knew, and I would go to the bookstore and I would go to the books and this was like before computers, before I had no friends that were into cars, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was literally just like me and just a curiosity, right?
Yeah.
If you were going to the bookstore and we'd go on vacation. I know that's I'd bring books with me, and it'd be like all these big car books of the history of muscle cars and Ferrari and exotic, all these old, I don't know, just anything I could get my hands on. It was wanting to know more and wanting to I don't know.
There's nothing like it, dude. I remember at a young age we used to go to Hot August Nights. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
So Hot August Nights is in Reno, Nevada, and it happens every year. And it's basically what is it called? Sturgis, I think, for the motorcycles.
Sturgis, yeah.
Pretty much something that for hot rods.
Okay.
So I think it's maybe 2 weeks in Reno, Nevada, so the whole city just becomes like the 60s,
That's pretty rad.
Yeah, and it's so cool, man. We would go out there and I would see all of these cars and with the blowers and just whining and the tires, and I just fell in love, man. So when I was younger and I got my first car, I ended up getting a 1980 Camaro, which was as close to a muscle car as I could get.
Yeah, my first car was a Mustang.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What year was that?
The Mustang was a 94 GT.
Uh-huh.
That was it. And this was 2001.
Is that the hatchback one?
No, that was the first year of the SN95 body style. So it was still had the 5-liter, but it was... I mean, it's it was a 94 GT coupe, so it looks like the 97s, 98s.
Got you.
They're ugly.
Yeah. But still, man, there's
I wanted a Fox body so bad.
Me too,
dude.
I still want one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now they're a little different because they're all terrible. They're all just, it's like a worn out Tupperware container on the inside. But no, yeah. Back in the day, I mean, it was, and again, just being involved with my dad, and I didn't really know anything about cars hands on.
Yeah.
I didn't really, because he did a lot of work, but he didn't do a lot of work, if that makes sense, right? He didn't paint his cars, and he didn't do the body work on them. We would tinker here and there, and I feel like growing up, I had a vision of him being this master mechanic. You know what I'm saying? And just oh, this dude knows everything. And
that's pops.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. And now, he texts me and asks me brake pad questions about his Corvette. I'm like, Come on, Dad.
They're always the dad is the Superman, bro.
Yeah,
you know?
that's how it was. And so when it was time for me to get a car, I was like, I need to get this Fox body. You know, like I need to get this Mustang. And I'd never driven a manual transmission before. Didn't know how, you know, but I knew this is what I wanted, right? And I remember getting off the school bus, and we would have to get the Auto Trader books, right? Like the for sale books, when you flip through the ads and see what cars were listed in the book. And dude, every week I'd be like, "Whoa, this is new. This is a new one. You know, like this is it. This is the price range. We need to go look at this one." Dude, I would drag him everywhere. We looked at probably 4 or 5 different cars, and before I picked. Well, I didn't pick it, but he did. But, yeah. But we drove some that was like a police Interceptor 5-liter, LX notchback with, a hot cam in it and all kinds of stuff. And dude, we were ripping. It was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And I remember we met the dude at a Wendy's and pulled out on the street, and dude, he was just laying into it. And I was like, "This is awesome." He's like, "I'm not buying you this." He's like, "No, this is too fast."
Not yet.
Nope, not today. And so but I ended up getting the newer one, like the newer body style.
Yeah.
Turns out it was a terrible car.
Really?
Terrible.
Why is that?
It always broke. It was the guy that had owned it previous to us had put a carburetor on it, so he pulled all the EFI shit out of it, and like it had a different engine in it.
What the hell?
Yeah, it was, for the time, it was like, it was the newer. It was a more expensive car than the Fox body, right? Because it was newer and stuff like that. But it definitely had its downsides. Like, it had been repainted, and the paint it didn't look bad, but it like started flaking off. You know, like it wasn't great. Never ran right, and I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know anything about it. It was the first car I learned how to drive stick on, and it was carbureted, and so I definitely almost died in the middle of intersections multiple times, just flooding it out, like trying to pump it up and just stalling it out in the middle of the intersections, dude. It was like the worst feeling ever. I'd have the car, had my license, took the school bus to school. Yeah. Because I couldn't drive it. I didn't know how. And I would come home from school every day, and I'd get in it, and I would start it up, and I would drive it down my driveway and across the street and drive through the neighborhoods, just learning how to drive it, Yeah. Because it was super sketchy. And, but eventually, it worked out, and then I met guys that had Civics that I went to school with, and raced an EG coupe. My buddy ended up having one of those with a VTEC D-Series in it, and he just destroyed me.
Oh, shit.
I was like, what the fuck? What am I doing? What is this thing? And, so.
So that was your intro into the Honda world?
Yeah, kind of. I'd always liked... It's funny. My first import car, I think that I had a crush on, right? The one that I always wanted was an Integra GSR.
Gotcha.
That was... I always wanted a white Integra. That was like the car for me, And I remember being so just amazed at what you could do to these cars, right? Like you pick up the old sport compact car books, sport compact car, or like with the Nopi ads. And,
Gotcha.
They'd have like 15 different front bumpers you can get, and all the side skirts and all the tail lights and all these conversions. And it was just like, I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like coming from hot rods, it's like all these guys brag about doing all this shit by hand, right? And like, well, for people that can't do that, you can buy it, and the cars were cool, and they were, Hondas to me always seemed like they were so advanced, right? Like coming from, Fox bodies and old GM, old muscle cars and stuff. It seemed like they were the future. Yeah. Which sounds weird to say out loud, but it's like they were so efficient, they were built way better, like they looked better, they were lighter, they had so many cool things about them, but they were always scary because I was, I grew up like, oh, it's got a, computer, right?
Yeah.
Or like, you know, they were scary because you know, I didn't know how to work on them, and neither did my dad, or you know, we'd never, you know, had any import cars like that in our lives, and so it was just like one of those things. I was like, whatever, I'm getting rid of this Mustang and I'm getting a Civic.
So at what age was it that you noticed this GSR and that you were even looking at like Sport Compact magazine?
Oh, dude, I didn't have a car. I didn't have a driver's license then. That was like probably 99.
Wow.
2000. I mean, the Integra was the new car.
Yeah.
You know, it was new, and yeah, it was just one of those things. They were too expensive.
Yeah.
You know, like back in the day, you know, back when I was shopping for my car, I think I spent like $4,000 on that Mustang, you know, something like that, $4 or $5,000, and you couldn't get an Integra for $4 or $5,000 back then, you know. Yeah, I looked at an Eclipse GST, like a turbo, you know, second gen Eclipse, and
so this was all even before like Fast and Furious?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I drove myself and my buddies to see Fast and Furious.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I always ask that because a lot of people their passion started around Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
And but even for me, I didn't even get into Hondas till about like 2007. You know, anything before that, it was hot rod muscle car stuff. So I had that Camaro, and then after that, I got my Chevelle. It was between my junior and senior year in high school. It was that summer I got the Chevelle.
Yeah.
So you're talking maybe like 2002, probably around there. And I still have that car to this day.
That's sick.
Yeah, I just brought it home from the shop maybe 2 weeks ago.
What year Chevelle?
It's a 69 Chevelle. 69 Chevelle, 383 stroker.
That's nice.
YN 177 single carb blower. But instead of the carburetor, we switched to the FI Tech, the fuel injection, like carburetor style thing. And
it looks like it's carbureted.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it has like the injectors built in and a little computer.
That's the way to do it.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I'll never want to mess with carburetors again, dude. It's nonsense, bro. I could go to the Chevelle right now, prime it, start it up, and it's ready to go.
Yeah,
with
no
carburetor,
worries.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. I don't. I mean, I can appreciate it, and those guys that can tune those things by listening to it, you know, that kind of shit. But
yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, but that car, dude, I love it, man. But it's totally different from, say, like the M4. Now I seen that you have a M3, right?
Yeah, I sold it last year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, sick. Yeah. I have a M4.
Yep.
And driving that car versus driving the Chevelle, it's like, dude, I don't even want to drive the Chevelle, bro.
No, of course not.
In the BMW, I could drink tea while I'm driving and going 150.
Yeah, you can drift it with one finger. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No, the M3s I liked mine a lot. I think the biggest issue for me, and one of the reasons why I got rid of it, is just I don't like the dual clutch.
Really?
I don't like it.
No shit. Yeah. Why's that?
It's just the 718 GTS I've got outside. It just reaffirms the fact that I don't like dual clutch transmissions. I don't like them. I don't care if it's faster. You know, and when I was shopping for my F80, it was one of the things. I didn't want a 6-speed.
Yeah.
Didn't want one. Had to be dual clutch. And when I found, I bought mine out of Dallas, you know, at the BMW dealer out there, and drove it home, and I loved it. It was awesome. Smooth, quiet, fast, comfortable, everything.
Yeah.
But the more I drove it, the more I realized how, like, boring it was. You know? And
so you want to be more a part of the driving experience.
Well, the way that, and this is just, you know, my own personal opinion, and I think that for me, if you're gonna own a sports car, then you do sports car shit with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The M3 is like a sports sedan. It's touted as like you can put a family in it.
Yeah,
you can put a car seat in it, which was, you know, a requirement for me. You know, my son's almost 3, right? So and so I was like, well, you know, if I got to put him in it, you know, it's got to have 4 seats. You know, I got to be able to put a car seat in there. But even when I had it, I never drove it. I never put him in it. Like we never went anywhere in it. We just took the Pilot. And just like I would take my family. It seemed like the appeal was there for me, but after having it and driving with it and living with it, it didn't make sense. I would rather spend the money on like a Corvette.
Gotcha.
Or or like a Porsche.
Where it's just gonna be the toy.
Yeah. And you use it when you want to, and you get more out of it that way, right? Than having a car that's compromised because the M3's cramped. I'm a big dude, and like the front, me getting comfortable, like no one could sit behind me. So it's
got you.
Why do you even have 4 doors if no one can? And I don't know. Then you mod it, and then
what'd you end up doing to it? Any mods?
Downpipes, exhaust, springs, wheels, JB4.
That's pretty much the kit right there.
I mean that's full. I mean it was full bolt-on E85.
Yeah. You went E85 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Did you notice any difference from it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It was. Well, I mean, I say E85. It was the E30 mix, so it was like 4 gallons of E85 and 93, and on the JB4, the E30 map, or it's like
got you
map 2 or something. I don't know. Dude, it rock and rolled.
Did you do a meth kit in it as well?
No. No. Nope. I mean, yeah, that was pretty much it. And then it was just like visual stuff, like carbon lip and shit.
Yeah.
So
what'd you end up getting after that?
I got a Lexus.
Okay.
I got a big SUV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that it would be cool to do like an Overland GX 460, and then I bought the Lexus, and then realized that it was a terrible idea, and so now I drive the FK8. So I have a Civic Type R.
Is that one that has the wrap all over? Is that yours?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So how do you like that car?
I love it.
Yeah?
It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, honestly, and no bullshit, it's way better than the M3.
Okay. In which ways?
Every way. And again, this is just me.
Yeah,
right?
This
is my opinion. It's more fun to drive. You can't do drifty donuts in it.
Yeah.
But arguably, the M3, I was so scared to crash it.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter. It's just as fast. I mean, especially with the mods on the FK8 now. I mean, it's a serious car.
I've been debating it, dude.
It's more fun on track. And it's a Honda.
Yeah.
I mean, it's front wheel drive, and again, a lot of people hate on front wheel drive. I love it. I love front wheel drive cars. I love driving them. It suits my driving style, if you will.
Got you.
I like driving a car that's got a bit of understeer. And sliding your ass out and drifting every turn, and a car that tends to oversteer a lot's too stressful.
Yeah.
To me, I like to be a little more controlled with it. But FK8, easy to fix. It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's half the price of an M3. Yeah, I mean,
and the market for aftermarket parts just seems to be growing and growing.
It's a Honda.
Yeah.
Of course. And I mean, it's not to say that there's not an aftermarket for the M3. There is.
Yeah.
But if you want to spend $7,000 on an exhaust, you can. It's just, that's the kind of stuff that kind of turned me off with the BMW stuff. It's
that community is a lot different than the Honda community as well.
For sure.
I remember when I first got it, I went to Beamer Fest out here, and there was probably like, out of all the cars in the whole entire show, there's probably like 5 to 10 max hoods popped, and that's it. Everyone was lowered.
They're all stock
carbon and wheels, and it was just like, it's cool, but there's definitely a limit of things that you can even do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, and a lot of them, a lot of those guys don't own those cars.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's probably another turn off, is just the depreciation.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
And the service, like that was a turn off, and just, not to say that like BMW dealership where I live is great. You know, they were always helpful. They're always friendly. You know, no problems. Even when my car was modded, they like, you know, they didn't give me shit about it, you know, and, you know, they would do services and, you know, all the stuff like normal, you know, no problems. But it just, I was always worried, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're like, you're one, you know, 2, 3, 4 pull from $30,000 motor replacement.
You don't know what the hell is going to happen.
Especially especially when I was on, you know, running E30, E85 mix.
Yeah.
You know, like if the quality's sketchy, I mean, you know, I know it's got the sensors and stuff in the fuel system, but still, it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a fling. You know, like you're cool. It's new and you know and fun, and I enjoyed it. And then I got my fix and I was over.
Yeah.
That's usually how it goes. I don't really get attached to cars.
Really?
Nah.
So yeah, I feel like that will generally happen with any car that you get. Even if you do get your dream car, I mean that happiness is only going to last for so long.
Yeah. Well, there's so many options. There are literally so many options. You can own so many different cars. They're all different. Yeah. They all have good things about them, you know. So why not try them all?
So what would be your dream car? No money, no problem.
I don't know if I have one.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I like all cars.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. I don't like Volkswagens.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
I don't think there was any Volkswagen guys listening.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I would consider probably owning any car except a Volkswagen. Just hard pass on that.
Yeah. It's because they use Torx, dude. You need to buy a whole new tool set to work on it.
That's another thing, you know. That's what they don't tell you with the M3s. You know, you got to have all these random ass screwdriver bits and Torx bits, and you know.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Well, my wife works at BMW, so
that's nice.
It makes it super easy. Yeah. Knock on wood, I really don't care if anything happens to it because I'll just take it over there and they'll fix it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a huge attraction for me having that car.
Yeah.
But either way, I don't know what it is. I love that car, man.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice car. And look, I love BMW.
Yeah.
I'm really picky, you know, about what cars I would like to spend my own money on, right? Mm-hmm. You know, like you go out on a limb and you make I wouldn't call it an investment because you're not going to make any money.
Yeah.
Certainly not buying an M3.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's got to be the right purchase. You know what I'm saying? The deal's got to be right in order to do it. But, yeah, just the cost of that shit is just crazy.
Yeah, I'm actually in the market for something else now. I'm looking at the M5, but it's a nice car, but to me it just doesn't look as aggressive as like the M4 does.
None of them do.
Yeah, it just looks like a regular 5 Series.
Have you seen the spy shots to the new M3 or M4?
I have.
It's terrible looking.
I've just seen like the grill.
Yeah.
And it is a lot larger than usual.
It's like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
It's got like huge slat grills.
I'm gonna wait to see it. Oh, you know,
it's gonna be a badass car.
I hope so.
No doubt.
I hope
it's gonna be crazy fast, crazy nice, amazing car to drive. You know, but you can never have everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, it's so amazing. Oh, it's it's the nicest interior. Oh, it's got 600 horsepower or all this. But it's like, but it's fucking ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. And then another thing with the M5 is I have a buddy who he's able to like do something with the stock computer and get it to like 900 with just simple bolt-ons.
Yeah, that's
like,
not surprising.
Dude, imagine just having a daily 4-door car, 900 horsepower.
The appeal. Yeah.
I'll die. I'll definitely end up dying somehow.
You know, and it's one of those things that it took, it was pretty obvious, like, you know, shortly after I got the M3 and I got comfortable driving it, that I realized that is way too fucking fast.
Yeah.
It's way faster than it ever should be.
Yeah.
On any public road. You know, like, it's bonkers. It's bonkers. I mean, after I retuned the car with the E30 mix on it, I remember driving home and just rolling on it. And, you know, I live in it's a pretty my neighborhood is relatively small, but there's lots of like straight side streets, you know, kind of, and it's out in the country. And dude, you know, the roads aren't great, and it's just like I'm hauling ass, you know, rolling on it third, and I'm in fourth gear, hit a bump, and the whole back end of the car comes out. Dude, I'm doing like 80 miles an hour. I mean, it was like full lock sideways, saved it. I put everything back on and drove home at 40 miles an hour.
Well,
dude, like full stop, pulled it into the garage, turned it off, and like didn't drive it for a week. I was like, I could have wrapped it around a pole. Like it was that easy, you know? And that's how much power and torque those things make.
I think any M owner knows that when you take traction control all the way off, you better be prepared for what's going to happen.
It gets real.
It does, dude. Because I can take traction control all the way off on the M4, baby it out of first, and still, just second, the car's gone. It's just sideways. And if you're not used to that kind of power, like coming from muscle cars, you'll kill yourself easily.
Dude, it's just, and I mean, in the way that the differential works, like it's just, it'll lock and unlock itself, and you know, and you can kind of hang the ass out, you know, and just slide it around. It was so smooth and controllable. It's really, really nice car to drive. But for me, I think what killed it was just the transmission. I just didn't like. I don't like. In part of it's probably me. Just I like to control the way the car moves, and you know, and I sit in a lot of traffic.
Yeah,
and so it gets really clunky. You know, if you're in stop and go traffic, it like will short shift into second sometimes, or like you'll come slow down, it'll downshift into first, and it's just jerky and shit.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't know.
Now you talking about how much power it makes. Do you think that there should be a different type of license or requirement to buy a car over 500 horsepower?
Yeah. No, not necessarily. I think, you know,
because you got to have a different license to drive a bus.
Hey, man, if you have, I guess, enough money, then anything's possible, right? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really matter if you're, you know, what you're driving. But I will say the C7 Z06, it's amazing how fast those cars are. Bone stock, and how many, like, old dudes just roll off the showroom floor, right, and just roll them around town. And will probably shit their pants every time they floor it. You know, it's just insane how fast they are.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just anybody can walk in and just lay the hammer down and just walk out with one. I don't know. Fuck, I guess that you're right. You know, if you want to be a hoon, you can do it. Fuck it. You know, like if you have the money to do it, why not? You know?
I think that is super dangerous, man. There's so many people out there.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at Mustangs.
Yeah, and people make fun of people with Mustangs, but all that means is that car has so much power, and these people can't control it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I don't know, man. I mean, me being a car guy, I think that it would be cool to have different levels, so it would be something to brag about. You know, I have a Class A license, so I'm allowed to have a car that has 800 horsepower.
Yeah.
Not just I have a good job. Now I could go buy a Demon.
Hey, man, that's the American way, man. You don't have to make it to make it.
I'm thinking of like a commie right now, dude. But that's one thing that's kind of been attracting me lately is those new domestics, man. That whole style of car is just so fucking cool. Yeah. But the only thing that turns me off is you can have, and maybe it's just because of me that I'm not that knowledgeable about it, but you could have a Challenger and you can have like a Hellcat or a Demon, and there's not that much differences from the outside of it.
Yeah.
Which that's what bothers me.
Look, I shopped a long time before I decided to get the F80.
Yeah.
And the Shelby GT350 was next in line. You know, it was literally the number 2 car. And it was like you read so much about it, and you know you hear all these great things about how well it drives, and it revs to the moon, and you know it's got all this stuff. And I drove one, and I was like, "Fuck, this is awesome!" But man, it sucks in here. You know, like it's the same shit as the rental car.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Granted, it's got nicer seats and a nicer steering wheel, sure, but I mean, it's the same stuff. I mean, it's not the same.
Yeah.
You know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Like it's built with a lot of the same parts, right?
Yeah.
You know, and so again, that goes back to that, for me, if I want a toy, right, because that's really what these cars are, they're toys. I want something that's purpose built, right? Like the Corvette.
Yeah.
Corvette's nothing else. It's a Corvette, right? Arguably, the base model Corvettes are still great cars, for what you pay and what you get. They're great, they're fast and fun and, things like that. That granted, they just get more insane, as you go up in trim levels and stuff. But none of those cars are made like for enterprise.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or none of them are made for, first drivers that want, something that looks cool. I mean, I guess that maybe they are. I don't know. But to me, the appeal is different. I wanted something that's made to be a sports car.
Definitely.
Not something that's turned into one. And it's kind of what the Civic Type R is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I'm going to eat my words there, but I don't know.
So what do you think about the C8 Corvette?
I don't know.
Not doing it for you?
I've never seen one in person. I've seen the specs, of course, I don't really like the way they look.
Really?
No.
The front or the back or the whole thing?
It's just the whole thing. I think they're too long, and and the rear overhang is huge. It's the interior looks funny. They may be really amazing cars, and I guess the same thing could be said was whenever the regular Stingray came out, right?
Yeah.
And, a few years ago, the base model one, you were like, oh, that's cool. But they just got cooler from there. So I'll reserve my opinion until I see like the cool one. But I don't know. I would rather have a 911.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a nice one too.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm waiting for SEMA. That's one of my goals is to go check out the C8 Corvette, and hopefully somebody did something cool to it.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I guess there will be some.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, there got to be some Corvettes there.
What about the Supra? What's your thought on that one?
I didn't like the Supra, but I really like it now. I don't
really?
know. Yeah, like I've grown to like it. I mean, I don't know. Being a BMW owner, right? Like I can appreciate that it's made by BMW. Right? I think it makes it a better car.
Oh hell yeah! I think people are talking down on it.
Yeah, they say it's like, oh, well, it's just a BMW. I'm like, yeah, well, it's the fucking good thing. Like look at a Camry. I would never. Fuck that. But it's like the FRS, right? Like the FRS is not built by Toyota.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it is, sure, but the bones of it's a Subaru.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not mad at it.
No, definitely.
I like the Supras. I think that they're cool. I think they look cool. I think they sound good. I mean,
yeah.
They don't offer a manual, so the purist inside of me, like I say, like that sucks.
Yeah.
That they don't have a manual, but I mean, those ZF transmissions are fast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they don't break. So I guess you can't really go wrong. But I mean, they're expensive. So I think if there's any caveat to that, is it worth $60,000? I don't know. Probably not. But,
yeah.
If you have one, they're cool.
I've seen one in person. It's okay. I mean, I really don't like that car, but like you said about the Corvette, I'm saving my final for SEMA, because once I go there, I want to see what everybody did. But I'm just afraid it's going to be what the FRS was maybe like 4 years ago. Yeah,
well, they're like 3 times as expensive, so I don't think it'll be quite that bad.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. And I don't think they're selling a whole lot of them. People are being stupid with markups. And, at $50,000, it's probably a pretty solid car for $50,000. You tack on 60, 70, some people paying 80 or even more for dealer markups and with the launch editions and shit. It's like, no thanks.
Now, how about for your Type R? Did you have to pay any markups on it?
No.
Really?
Nope.
Sick, dude.
Yep, we got it. It was the first car that the dealership got. Mm-hmm. Very first one. No, we paid sticker for it.
Nice.
It showed up on the truck on Tuesday. The dealer texted me the picture of it on the trailer. He said, if you want it, you have until Friday to come get it. And so we went the next day to get it. And we didn't get to pick the color or anything. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, I think it's worth, I think we paid like 34.7 for it or something like that. I mean, whatever the sticker was in 2017, because it's an early model.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, worth every penny.
No regrets on it at all?
None at all.
So if there is anything that you have to say that there's a downfall for it, what would you say?
It's just nitpicky shit. The electronic parking brake's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
The climate control sucks. The navigation sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the stereo sucks.
Does it have Apple CarPlay?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So it doesn't. So yeah, I've never used the factory navigation because it just has CarPlay, and it's like the 718 outside doesn't have CarPlay.
Oh no way.
It's 2019.
Oh shit,
dude, let down. But anyway, yeah, it's got CarPlay. I mean, it's hard to find a fault with the Civic for the money.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
It really is, and you know, I'm probably being biased because I love Hondas and that's my jam.
Yeah.
You know, that's my thing. I'll always own Hondas. I'll always mod them. I love them. I'll teach my son how to do it. You know, like that's it. But you just got to take it for what it is, right? It's not as nice as an M3 or M4.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not built as well because the interior panels fucking squeak and rattle, and you know, like the fit and finish is not that great.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't pay $80,000 for it.
Yeah.
You know. And if something breaks, it's, you know, you're not going to like have to pull out a second mortgage to fix it, right? Or lose, you know, all the money that you've got in it.
So what are some kind of mods that you've done to it?
The Civic?
Yeah.
It's Flash Pro.
Honda?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Downpipe, exhaust, intake, intercooler. Stage 2 pure turbos turbo.
Okay.
Upgrade.
Sick.
That's it. Performance wise.
Yeah.
I've done APG forged front brakes. So 2-piece rotors, Titan 7 wheels, iBox springs and sway bars.
Those Titan 7s, bro.
That's it.
Those are tight wheels, dude.
Yeah.
I like those.
They're
man.
nice. Yeah. They're I mean, they're nice for the, you know, for the money and, you know, the way they look. They're a bitch to clean.
Oh, really?
Oh my god. Yeah, they suck. The brakes, the pads that I have on the car now dust a lot. Stock brakes, the stock Brembo pads dust like crazy. So I mean, you're in there, you know, cleaning them off every other day if it bothers you. But
so what about the turbo upgrade? Did you notice a lot of power increase in that?
Not necessarily power. The problem with the F8s is they're still so new in the development of, you know, direct injection and stuff like that, and the fuel system's really the limit, right?
Gotcha.
It's the ceiling.
Gotcha.
You're not really going to make you know, crazy power without upgrading the fuel system. And right now only the options you have are super expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, run a port injection, which you have to have the computer to control it, which is really only Motec or Cyvex or something.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's
got you.
$5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for an ECU, right? And it's just, it just becomes too much. But the turbo, you know, spools faster, holds boost longer, so you can, you know, it'll hold boost to red line. It's not going to do anything weird, and it makes more power on the stock boost level than like a full bolt-on car would with increasing the boost. So it makes about 400 horsepower.
Nice.
So, I mean, you know
that's not bad, dude.
Yeah, I mean, 100 horsepower over stock.
Wow.
You know, I mean, the cars aren't slow to begin with. You know, they're impressive in stock form, but yeah, when you up the power and you up the torque, they become pretty dumb.
You're talking me into it,
dude. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a car salesman, but if you like driving cars, especially Hondas, and I think that one of the biggest comments that I get from people that drive the car or ride in the car, they say it doesn't feel like a Honda.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It doesn't drive like a Honda. It doesn't drive like the cars you think, you know. Have you ever driven one?
No.
Oh, man. It's it's more engaging than the M4. Definitely.
I'm going to have to try one out for sure, dude.
Drive a modded one.
Yeah.
Stock ones are kind of tame. If you know somebody that's got a modded one that'll let you rip on it, dude, It's awesome.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it.
They're
man.
really cool. I mean, they don't sound particularly that great.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the motors are funny. But
what exhaust do you have on it?
HKS,
Okay.
the Legamax.
Got you.
So it sounds good. The catless downpipe kind of makes it a little raspy and kind of, I don't want to say farty, but like it don't sound like a K series.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't sound like a K24. It's got its own kind of weird hum to it. I don't know. You just have to hear it. But
so let's backtrack a little bit. When did you get your first Honda and what was it?
So I traded. It kind of ties into the story of hybrid, honestly. The Mustang I had in high school was terrible, and it always broke, and I could never fix it. So I met a guy in one of my classes that was always reading Honda tuning and like Sport Compact Car and Modified Magazine and like all that stuff. And so, you know, we just started talking and we became pretty good friends. Turns out he had a white Integra. And I was like, dude, you know, like I love Integras. They're so awesome, you know, whatever. You know, let's hang out, you know, like, cause I literally none of my friends were into cars, you know, and I was just kind of doing it on my own. Right. And so I, you know, met these two brothers and they shared an Integra and they were, you know, fucking putting nitrous on it and, you know, racing everybody. And I was like, dude, like, this is cool. So I was just hanging out with them, you know, and, you know, their family had money. So like, it didn't really matter. And my Mustang was broke, of course, like it wouldn't start. The distributor the rotor or something was broken inside of it or no, it was like the brass like gear on the bottom of the distributor broke off of it somehow.
Oh shit!
And I didn't have a car for a while I was, you know, trying to get that fixed. And he was like, "Yeah, it's like just take the Integra, you can drive it around." I was like,
and this is the one that you wanted.
Yeah, dude. And so at the time it was an LS Integra with a VTEC head, and you know, I mean, it was fully gutted, like Corbu bucket seats in it. I mean, it was, dude, for 2001, something like, dude. I mean, it was rocking. It was fast. What I considered fast, right? You know, LS VTEC or B20 VTEC.
Yeah,
dude, it was serious. And so I started driving that around and hung out with those guys more. And through him, you know, they didn't really work on their own cars. They were just kind of involved in it. They would get this other guy to do it. So I was just hanging out with them, and we ended up going to the storage unit one night where the Integra was getting worked on. The guy was putting a new clutch in it or something for him because they had roasted the other one, spraying nitrous on it or something stupid. Yeah. So we rolled up to the storage unit, and it was right down the street from my high school. I mean, like 2 minutes away, and you pull through the gate, and like it's like you got this access code, you know, where late at night you're going into the storage unit. You turn the corner, and there's like 4 Civic hatchbacks, and you know, another Integra and a DA Integra, and like, you know, 2 garage door bays opened up with like cars and parts and shit stacked up. And I was like, what is this place? Like, this is awesome.
Sick.
And I'm from a really small town, man, you know, and it's like nobody does car stuff. I mean, it's so rare to find somebody that is into the same stuff that we are where we live. But I guess that's a tangent. We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But so I met the guy that was doing a lot of the work, and his name was Will.
Okay.
And you know, he was hustling and bustling, you know, pulling transmissions out and doing engine swaps in a day, and he's, you know, selling parts, and I mean, dude, he was just grinding. So, you know, I linked up with him, and I'm like, look, I want a Honda. Like, you are the guy, you know, help me get a Honda. Help me, you know. And he had an Electron Blue EG hatchback on like Fat 5 GSRs with a B16, you know, swap. And I mean, it was so nice. It was like, I loved it. And I'm like, sell me your car. You know, I want it. I want the blue EG. And he was like, okay, yeah, I'll sell it to you for $7,000, but I'm keeping the wheels and I'm keeping, like, he smelled the blood in the water. You know what I mean? And I was like, fuck, man. I was like, no, I don't have that. I was like, well, how much can I just for the car? Like just the car and the motor. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. And he still wanted way too much money for it. So I was like, fuck, okay, whatever. Well, he was like, well, sell your Mustang and then come back. Like come holler at me when you have some money. And and yeah, sure enough, probably like a month later, sold my Mustang and hit him up. And I'm like, hey, I want an EG hatch. Find me one. And he was like, oh yeah, I got one. I know a buddy. I'll go buy it and I'll sell it to you. No problem. And it was a teal. It was like a teal green EG, DX automatic.
Yeah.
Nice car. It had been, front end was wrecked, so the whole front end was primered, and it was like, okay, cool. Like I had like, I don't know, probably paid the $3,000 for it or something like that, and so we just became friends. Kind of this whole transaction, because I was going to him for motors. Like he was the guy, that I could get a motor from, and he was the guy that could help me, put the B16 in it or whatever, and we just that kind of grew our relationship. And it's a funny story because he's the owner of Hybrid. We started Hybrid together, kind of from that love, that just kind of like relationship that we had with each other. And ever since that day, we've worked together from then till today.
What was your guys' age difference?
He's a few years older than I am. I think he's maybe I'll be 34 on Friday.
Oh shit. Happy early birthday, man.
You.
Hell yeah.
I think he's like 36.
Okay.
He's a couple years older. He was out of high school, like he was going to college and stuff, and I was still in high school, so we were just a couple of years apart.
You guys never crossed paths?
No, because we didn't go to the same high school.
Got you, okay.
He went to another school, like out of state, and so it was just kind of random that we linked up, in that way. And yeah, we've been rolling together ever since, man.
Is the air too high for you?
No.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, because some people, once we get off, they're like, dude, it's so cold.
Oh, no. Dude, it was in the 40s when I left Louisiana this morning.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And I'm good. And I've been driving that car with the top down, so I feel like I'm fucking sunburnt,
Good, man. Yeah, I always complain about like, oh, dude, it's so cold out.
No.
And I say, it's like 60 degrees, so cold. And people are like, 60 degrees? What the hell? That's summer for us.
Nah.
So, yeah, but I'm in California. I'm spoiled, dude.
Yeah, no, you guys got all the nice weather.
Yeah. So you end up meeting Will. So what was your idea of him at first? Was he the Honda guy to go to in your area?
To me, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he had other guys that were buddies, of his that were trained mechanics.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Like I've never have any formal training, literally of anything.
Yeah.
I have no college degree in anything, no certifications, no qualifications.
Yeah.
Other than the passion, right?
Same here.
And same thing for him. I think at the time he knew enough to make money doing it. He quit his job, working at Advanced Auto Parts or something, realizing that he could like do work like that, and hustle to make more money and to do things that he liked to do, which was mod cars and do that kind of shit. And for me, he was the guy.
Gotcha.
To me,
yeah.
There were some other guys that were doing more advanced stuff than him back then, but.
So what do you think it was that made him befriend you or, take you under his wing?
I think, well, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think, if anything, he saw an opportunity, right?
Gotcha.
He either saw me as a way for him to make money or, a way to get help, because really how it worked out is, I went to, after I bought the car, the Civic, we would talk back and forth, fucking on AOL Instant Messenger.
Yeah.
Right? We would sit at home and like chat on our computers. Fuck. And
Those were the good old days, dude. Shout out to Raul. Raul and I used to chat all the time like girls.
Dude, aim.
Yep.
Aim is where it's at, man. Connecting people.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, we would like chit chat on AIM like all the time. He would always be up like on the computer, and like, you know, we would talk back and forth about this and that. And one day he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, do you have a truck?" I'm like, "I don't have a truck, but my dad's got a truck, you know." And he was like, "Cool, like we need to borrow it." I was like, "Oh shit, okay, well, I mean, he's probably not gonna let you borrow the truck, but like I could probably borrow it if you need my help, you know." And he's like, "Cool, like go here, like, you know, in an hour, like we need your help." I was like, cool. So I got the truck, went out there, and it's like in the middle of a barn, in the middle of a field somewhere, and they've got like 6 engines on pallets, like in the middle of this field. I'm like, what the fuck? Why are all this? What is going on out here? And you know, he was like, well, we got I made a deal with this guy and bought all these engines, but we only had one truck, so we need help moving the engines to the shop, and this is the only place the truck would drop the engines off or whatever. I was like,
what the hell?
I was like, okay, whatever. You know, it was like on the side of like a barn somewhere, but like I don't know, a guy he knew, I don't know. So yeah, we lifted all these engines and put them in the back of the trucks and drove it to the storage unit, and it was that ended up being Hybrid's very first store, first shop.
Okay.
And in Mandeville, and yeah, we unloaded the engines, and there were like 2 K20A engines, you know, B16 LS motor, JDM GSR motor.
Wow.
So there's a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it was that's the first time I'd ever seen a K20A, and he had 2 of them, and I was like, damn, like, you know, back then, dude, those engines were like $8,000.
Yeah.
You know, they were super expensive back then. They were, I mean, it's a brand new engine.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably 2002. No, it's probably 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all that stuff was new. And yeah, those were the first things that we brought into the shop. And, you know, we were going back and forth talking, you know, on Instant Messenger about, you know, he wanted to start a shop. And I'm like, cool, like, you know, what would you name it? You know, what are you thinking? And yeah, we were just going back and forth, and I suggested Hybrid Performance. I'm like, man, that's cool, because like, you know, we're taking engines and we're doing engine swaps, and like, you know, we're taking parts from other cars and putting them on street cars and like their race cars, and it's like, you know, a mix of the two and all this stuff. And he was like, that's it, Hybrid Racing.
Nice.
That was it. Name created over AOL Instant Messenger.
Hell yeah, dude. So it was just you two?
Yeah, so there were a few other guys involved in the early stages. I was just the help.
Got you.
You know, I didn't have any money at the time to put into anything, and you know, I was in school, and I was blessed to have a family that supported me and said, like, you don't have to get a normal job as long as like you know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like, I consider myself really lucky to have that, you know, because they supported they supported my passion, right?
Yeah.
And they were supportive of me not wanting to go to college, you know, because like when I got out of school, I was like, fuck it. Went to school for a year, and I'm like, you know, would sit in the class and be like, there are so many more things I could be doing better than just sitting in here listening to this shit and listening to the other people in the room that didn't care. You know, it's like, fuck it, I'm done. Yeah, went and never went back, and just focused my time, you know, at the shop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's it.
So it started in what, 2004?
Yeah, so the LLC started in 2003. So
okay.
September of 2003. That was like official business, you know, doors open. For a while we did like just general shit. I mean, anything that we could do that would make money. And honestly, I worked for probably a year or maybe 2 years and never made $1. Never got paid. I just wanted to do it. Just wanted to be there, you know?
So what were you doing for money?
I had parents.
Got you.
You know, and look, I lived at home. I was young. I didn't really have any bills. I didn't have a cell phone. You know, like you don't have, you know, like it was car insurance really.
Yeah.
And it was really the only thing like my parents helped me out with was like gas and car insurance. You know what I mean? And again, they were always kind of like, well, like, you know, you kind of need to get a job, or, you know, or like, you know, are they paying you yet? You know, like one of those things.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no, like it's all good. You know, it's, you know, it was one of those things. And I mean, I think that they knew enough to just say like, okay, like,
Had they have met Will before?
yeah, it's a long story. He lived with us. He lived with me for a while.
Got you.
You know, he was, you know, in and out of places where he was living, and he lived at the shop for a while, and you know, he had a lot of stuff going on in that he focused on the business. You know.
So would you say that your parents they recognized his character and thought that you were in good hands?
No. Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not going to speak for him, but
Yeah.
I would say that for a while they probably thought I was getting taken advantage of.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
definitely.
Just because, you know, I was up every day. You know, every day after school I was over there. I mean, dude, look, I was so desperate to go over there and help out. I literally knew nothing. Right? I had just bought the Civic. Knew nothing about it. I didn't know how to work on it, let alone do any engine swaps or change oil or any of this stuff. And there was no one to learn from, right? I had no experience. So for me, my way in to learn was just to be there.
Yeah.
Just to be there and be involved in any way, right? Because there would be guys that would come over and hang out, and like, you know, the guys at the shop would be like, fuck out of here, you know, like, what are you doing? You're just sitting around, you know,
Yeah.
like we don't need you here, leave. But I felt privileged, like I could go over there and chill and hang out, and like, because I would genuinely go in and be like, cool, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can't work on cars, I can't do anything, but I can sweep the floor.
Yeah.
You know, like, and one of the early things is like, I remember going in there after school, and they were, you know, all the three guys, and you know, that were involved in the shop were, you know, doing stuff or whatever, and I'm like, you got anything for me to do? And Will was like, yeah, I've got this bucket of bolts, sort this bucket of bolts for me. I was like,
Oh shit.
for real? Okay. Sat down and just like, oh, this is a 10 mil, boop, this is a 10, this, boop, you know, like,
Yeah.
sort them out, man. And I didn't give him any shit for it, you know. I was like, cool, I'm here. If I can be helpful, I'll do it.
Hell yeah,
you know,
dude.
and I don't care. And then it, you know, that kind of spiraled into like, well, what are other things that you can do, or what else can I do? I learned how to do wiring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a weird passion that I have. I really like, you know, building harnesses and wiring cars and doing things like that. It's I've been doing it literally since then. So for, you know, 16, 17 years now. It's been a long time. And first time I ever picked up a soldering iron, you know, I was there making conversion harnesses.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I did that for a while. I handmade a lot of the wire harnesses that Hybrid made and sold. And it just kind of spiraled from there.
Yeah, there's
you know?
something weird about wiring, dude, where it's like if you know how to do it, there's like a weird passion to it.
Yeah. I like I don't like making like harnesses for other people.
Yeah, no, hell no. I do my own thing, and that's it.
Yeah, like, but like on my own cars and like my own projects and stuff, like I'm real meticulous about it and like real picky about, you know, all that stuff and how it works. It's something I like to do.
Yeah.
You know?
When I worked at Best Buy with Raul, we would do a lot of alarms, and one thing that we would try to do is hide the wires as much as possible, so you wouldn't even know that the car had an alarm in there. So when I put an alarm in the right-hand drive, I had like an extra wiring harness. So I was cutting the wires as long as I could, and then I would go to the brain of the alarm, and at like an inch from the clip, I would solder on the same color as the power, ignition, or whatever.
Right.
And then you hook it up to the harness, and you wouldn't even be able to tell.
Yeah. It's things like that, you know, like when you get into wiring, you just gotta care, and if you don't know how to do it, like you got to figure it out, right? Because you can't just like hack shit together. I don't know. I mean, people do it.
So when did it change from just working on cars to like a product manufacturer?
Yeah. So it was a funny transition. It was one of, I mean, it was, well, first of all, when we started the shop, Will always had he had the idea to put a K20A in his car. And at the time he had a really nice like gunmetal. It was like a Lexus IS300 gray EG, the one in the video.
Yeah.
That one. He had the idea of putting that motor in it, and this was back when, Honda Tech was the go-to place. If you needed to know anybody or if you needed any info, you go to Honda Tech. You don't go, that was it. And so yeah, he wanted to do it, wanted to figure out how to do it, bought the engine and, pulled the other engine out of his car, and we prepared the chassis. And there was a guy on Honda Tech that was doing, or that had done a swap, right? There was one guy, and he was out here in California somewhere. And he handmade his own engine mounts and had made his engine, conversion harness or whatever, and it was a K20A Type R motor running on a stock computer with, all that kind of jazz going on. But it was all handmade, it was all custom stuff.
Yeah.
And Will linked up with that guy, and they worked out some kind of deal. And he sent us some engine mounts for the car, and we put the motor in, and we ended up going through the harness and figuring out how it all works, and handmade the harness for it and everything. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of like that time where we were taking it one step at a time, like figuring out how to do the fuel lines, and then once everything was done, then we were working on getting it started, and like, because we could get it to crank, but it like really ran really funny.
Gotcha.
And it was just like shit that's, you can one click on the computer now and get, I mean, it took us weeks to figure out, and weeks to do. And it was then after the car ran. I remember the first night it ran, it was like 3 a.m. We had been up all night trying to figure out how to get the car to start, and it would, misfire, and it would just run weird. And so we figured it all out, and then finally we had no hood, no exhaust, and we're we're open header.
Oh shit,
dude! We're out on the highway in front of the shop, and it's just like, I mean, you could hear it from a mile and a half away. That's how loud it was, dude. It was screaming. And it was after that, and I think some stuff that was going on in Honda Tech about the car, and people seeing it, and seeing that it was possible, and the Evo video, racing the Evo, stuff like that. I think that it kind of clicked, and it was like, well, people want this stuff. Like people would call us and email us and figure out like, hey, like, I want to put a K series motor in my car, And it was kind of right around then where it was like, look, if we're ever going to be a business that makes money, like real money, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be creative, and you have to make your own stuff. And so we kind of slowly shifted away from, just doing general mechanic installs and shit, engine swaps and stuff, to focusing on how to make parts for these cars.
Yeah.
And that was it,
dude. Hell yeah, man. You guys were really at the forefront with this K series stuff, and I definitely want to dive into that, but we're gonna take a quick break right now for our sponsors, guys, and we'll be back in 1 minute. Dude, I'm gonna piss my pants, bro. I don't want to rush this. 1:21. You got to use the restroom or anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, give me like.
Probably will drink some more water though.
Yeah. What up, guys?
way is it taking us?
The short way.
Is it the 405? What time is it?
2:38.
We'll probably be in there for another 30 minutes or so. He's taking a break. He's going to take a piss. Dude, my head's fucking killing me. Literally, I feel like I want to pass out. It hurts so bad.
Hey, you don't want to take the car and go somewhere?
Yeah, you can.
What you want to do? Go to Starbucks.
Find a boba joint.
Can't wait till 8 o'clock at night, and it's only a 2-hour drive. But you can't wait that long.
It is taking up.
It's taking a 405.
No. It is all the way to Santa Clara. Down the 5.
Let me see.
Like, this is the
Holy shit. It's oh my god. Santa Clarita, yeah.
We're gonna get back in this way.
Yeah. I just had to take a break.
Holy fucking shit, dude. So, if we leave in 30 minutes,
It'll be 6 o'clock when we get home.
is that to the apartment or is that just to Fullerton?
You guys got a ways?
Dude, 3 hours.
Yeah, right now, dude.
3
Traffic
hours.
is fucking bad.
Holy fucking
right now,
shit.
dude.
I'm gonna die.
My bad, bro. There's another water right here.
I opened one.
Whatever one, man. Drink them both. Hydrate.
Oh, no, sorry.
Dude, I almost fucking pissed my pants. I'm sorry,
No,
bro.
dude, I had to stop. Like, we were driving here. I had to stop at. We passed Neptune's Net, and I had to cut a U-turn so I could go in there and take a piss.
So sometimes I can hold it, but like I don't want to rush this convo, man. How you doing? Good?
No, I'm good.
Oh, this shit's fucking fun, man.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll just take a timestamp and just edit it.
Okay.
It'll sound normal. But are you ready to do this?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you guys finally got the idea that if you're gonna turn this into a real business, that you got to make a jump. And,
Yeah.
So what was the first thing that you guys started to offer, and how did you market it?
The first products we sold were engine mounts
Okay,
and conversion harnesses.
got you.
Those were the first 2 products. I remember specifically packaging the first harnesses to ship out to customers. And the first mount kits we didn't make. We actually bought from someone that had them made.
Okay,
But it turns out they were really shitty.
were they steel?
Yes.
Got you.
And they used like off-road bushings, like poly bushings from like an off-road truck somehow. They were just they were all handmade by some guy, and like he didn't use jigs for anything, so like they weren't consistent. And, it was just. But I mean, dude, at the time we were like, "Fuck yeah!" Like, let's, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, I don't know. I guess some people used them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that, and then the harnesses, were those the harnesses that you were making?
Oh yeah.
So when you're packing up this first order, what's going on in your mind? Like, could you even believe it?
No, dude. It was at the time. It was just like it wasn't a thing. I didn't know how significant it was. You know, like I didn't realize that those activities at the time were going to lead where we are today.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, okay, well, like I guess I got to put this in this plastic bag, and you go drop it off at FedEx. That's just. It's so kind of surreal thinking about it now, when you just think about all the things that have gone on through the years and how stuff has evolved. It's
15 years later, 16 years later.
It's been a long time.
That's wild.
It's been a long
man.
time, dude. Yeah. I mean, I've grown old.
Yeah.
My beard's turning gray, man.
From a kid.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's wild, man.
Yeah. So
you guys started selling the mounts. How many do you think you went through before you guys ended up hooking up with Innovative?
Yes. So that was a we made mounts ourselves.
Okay.
So after I don't know, we only got a handful of those mount kits from the guy that was making them, and then I don't know the personal dealings with it. I wasn't involved. It was the other guys, but the deal didn't work out. It wasn't right, and it was kind of shady. I don't know. It's a long story, I guess. One that I'm probably not qualified to tell.
No worries.
The decision was made to make them ourselves.
Okay.
So, we took the mounts that we had, and the guys had a local architect or engineer or somebody that could make blueprints, and so he made blueprints of the actual parts, and literally a fucking blueprint, like a hand-drawn blueprint. We've got it framed in our front office.
Oh, sick.
But we none of it was on computers, or the way this guy worked at the time. He wasn't doing computer stuff, so he made everything by hand, and he helped us make our own mounts. So one of the biggest investments for us initially was when we decided to say, like, cool, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be a manufacturing company where we're going to make our own stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to design our own stuff. We bought a CNC machine. And so, we stuffed the CNC machine into our tiny, one bay garage, place, and started machining billet engine mounts,
Damn.
Yeah, we made a bunch of them, we machined them for a good, couple of years. Then it got just to the point where you hit the wall,
Yeah.
right? You can't make enough. And the people that you have in there, working and doing the stuff has got to be the right people.
Yeah.
And when you don't have the right people, you learn the hard way.
Yeah.
I think they wasted a lot of money, figuring that shit out.
Got you.
And it was randomly, it was years, man. It was probably 4 or 5 years into it before we hooked up with Innovative and started working with Innovative. And that was kind of one of the things where Will, just being the guy, he's always looking for solutions, right? He's always looking for answers and always looking for, the next thing, right? Like if he opens the door and it's closed, or, it's a dead end, he's going to the next door. You know what I'm saying? And he's one of the guys, one of the only people I know that has just an innate ability to throw anything at the wall and see what sticks, right? Like, it doesn't matter. He'll come in my office, literally to this day, he'll do it, and he'll come in with just the most random shit. And I'm like, what? He's like, what do you think about this? I'm like, fuck, no. Really? You think so? I'm like, yeah, I'm telling you, no, we're not going to do that. And he's like, all right, cool. And he'll just like walk out and go, do his own thing.
Yeah.
But, sometimes, he's got really good ideas, and, credit where credit's due. It's his ability to do that is what has got us to where we are today, and going back to the mount thing, he reached out to Hasport years ago and said, hey, we've got our own brand. We had our own brand. We made our own mounts. One of the things that we learned early on is that people really liked our name and our brand, and they were willing to pay for it, and they didn't want anything else. So we said, we want to sell your mounts. Can you put our logos on them?
Yeah.
And for them, that was a hard no.
Gotcha.
Which I can understand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where our paths strayed. Right. And randomly Will, being the guy he is, rang up Innovative and talked with the guys over there and said, we want to make engine mounts. We want to put our logos on them. Will you do it? And they said, sure.
Now, did you guys approach them as like a private label thing, or was it more of like, yo, we want our name on it, but it's going to be known that it comes from Innovative?
Yeah, it was always it was never, look, we are or at least me, I've never, given anybody the impression that it's our own work,
Yeah.
right? It's one of those things where since day one, the mounts have always had innovative mounts logos on them.
Yeah.
I mean, the stickers were always on the box. It's like, it's one of those things. It always comes from them. Arguably, that's bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's good that we were able to do that sort of thing, but at that time, engine mounts and stuff were not really our focus. It was more just an offering.
Yeah.
Right. It was a way for us to offer these parts to our customers and have a solution for them without sending them away and not getting their money.
Gotcha,
right.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
If they're here talking to us, then we want to try to sell them as much stuff as we can. Because it's easier for them. Because if we sell it, we know what it is. We can support it. We can help them. And the more things that people buy, the more money we make, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's self-serving, but it's one of those things where it's good for our customers. If we weren't able to get engine mounts with our logos on them, probably wouldn't have been a big deal. We probably just would have said, "Cool, we're just going to sell these mounts."
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, our goal was never to get in the mount game, right? We didn't really have any interest in making engine mounts. When we were forced to make them ourselves, no one else made them. And by the time we were so heavily invested in machining them and making them ourselves, Hasport comes out with their mount kits, all this stuff, and it was a turning point, I think, in the market at the time when Brian released his kit, and it was different than ours.
Gotcha.
Because our kit was made, it was specifically for like a certain header and a certain setup, and they were really rare. I mean, we sold a lot of them, but we didn't sell as many as Hasport did, right? And so when their kit came out, it was the kit that everybody used, and so people could install these motors, and other people could make stuff for them. And then you saw the more header options, out there, and you saw all these, different options, and eventually the prices and stuff started dropping, right? And it got to the point where our mount kit, you could only use one header, and it was like a handmade stainless header, and it was like $1,000.
Oh shit.
And so, because you couldn't use like a off-the-shelf swap header, or back in the day it was a DC Sports header.
Got you.
You couldn't use any of them because they didn't fit. And so it was just, the decision was right to not continue to make the mounts, just because it was gonna be a dying part, right?
Yeah.
I mean, more people were gonna have access to the other kits that used other stuff, and it was just not worth it. And so and then we just branched off into other things like fuel lines and clutch lines, and we worked with the drive shaft shop, to measure the axles and to sell solutions for that. And that was really where, that was the focus of the initial brand offering, right? It wasn't until probably 2007. So we were in Mandeville for a while. Hurricane Katrina came through.
Yeah.
I was there for that. I stayed at home while trees fell on our house, and we had no electricity for 3 weeks. It was pretty insane.
Yeah.
We had some issues at the shop that we were in. They had some trees fall on the building, and we rented it, and the landlord was, basically like, yeah, you guys should probably leave. And it was kind of around that time where some of the guys were going off to college and moving to Baton Rouge permanently. And so right around, it was kind of shortly after then that we moved to Baton Rouge, into our first shop there. And it was kind of then when we realized we needed to get serious.
Gotcha.
And start doing actual in-house engineering, actual design, outsource manufacturing and things like that. It became more serious then. And
so let's kind of dive into that, the time when Katrina hit. Can you just walk us through that, like that experience?
Yeah. Katrina was pretty shitty.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean we lived in the I live in the country, right? We're from the I would consider it the country. It's just, you know, I lived at home at my parents' house at the time, and had a few acres of land, you know, lots of trees, lots of, you know, open space.
Now, when you say country, is this more like swamp land kind of, or
No,
okay? Because when I think of that area, that's kind of what I think of.
Yeah, no, that's funny you say that. A lot of people do. No, I don't live in the swamp. And to be fair, I've probably been to the swamp once in my life.
Oh shit!
It's super south.
Okay.
Like like southern Louisiana, like by the Gulf of Mexico, it gets swampy and marshy. There are certain parts of it in New Orleans and near surrounding areas where there's swamp and marsh and stuff like that. We live north of that. It's not
just traditional woodsy
do I sound
area.
like I have a country accent?
No.
Yeah. So
you could be from California.
yeah, man. From Santa Monica, you know.
There you go.
Yeah, the waves are killer today, bro. Yeah. No, but it's just that part of the, you know, it's just that part of the area. It's not real country.
Gotcha.
You know, I wouldn't say it's. I call it the country. It's not like the city.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
I don't live in an apartment, right?
Yeah.
Or like, you know, I don't. If I want to go somewhere, I got to get in a car and drive and
Got
go there.
you. Okay.
You know, I don't have neighbors, right? I'm surrounded by woods on every side.
How far is your nearest neighbor?
Oh well, I don't live there now.
No, but when you did.
I mean, across the road, you pull out of our driveway and you go across the street, and I mean, there's houses.
What about
down
left to
the road.
right?
When I was growing up, I mean, you probably had acres of land
Gotcha.
on all sides. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, I could cut through trails in my 4-wheeler, bro, for hours. You know what I'm saying? And just
Gotcha.
rip it up.
Okay, cool.
But yeah,
So you're living in this country area.
Yeah,
and Katrina's on the way.
Yeah, the storm was coming. I mean, I remember. I mean, it was a long time ago. I remember the storm coming and seeing it on the news and seeing all the hype about it. And you know, I grew up there. I'm from there. I've been through hurricanes. I've been, you know, with my parents when we've been out of power. You know what I mean? Like, my parents' house is elevated, so
Gotcha.
it's, you know, six or so some odd feet off the ground. The back part of the property does back up to a creek, and you know, when it rains a lot, there's, you know, lots of stuff going on. The water comes up, and I mean, it will flood into our yard. It gets under the house and stuff like that. I mean, I would say it's normal,
Gotcha.
you know, because I grew up there. It's the only place I ever lived. You know, it happened every couple of years. The water would come up, and you know, we'd be at the house for a couple of days, and it would go away, and that would kind of be it. And so, the storm was coming through, and you know, everybody was saying like, "Yo, this is some serious shit. Y'all should probably get out of there." You know, it was a pretty big deal. From, you know, what I can remember.
What year was this?
Katrina hit August 2005.
Okay.
And yeah, and you know, I remember the morning my mom packed her stuff, and because I had a little sister, she was a baby, she was, you know, probably 6 months old or whatever, and my mom was like, you know, look, if the storm's coming, if it's going to be as bad as everybody says it's going to be, I'm not going to stay here, you know, with the baby. So she took her and, you know, some other friends, and they went north. They have, you know, a house in northern Louisiana that they went to stay at. And so I stayed there with my dad, and we were just like, fuck.
Just you and your dad?
Yeah, just the two of us. And we were going to ride this out. I had no idea what was coming. I had no idea it was going to be as bad as it was. You know, again, we had been through it before, and it was kind of one of those things where it was like, well, we've done it. You know what I'm saying? It's whatever, you know, it'll suck for a little while, and then it'll get better. The storm came, it was nighttime when I think the worst part of it came, when it hit us. And I remember I slept in the living room of my house on the sofa, and the back part of my parents' house, has like glass French doors, and the wind was pushing the doors inward. It was blowing so hard it pushed the doors in, and it bent like the hinges backwards on the door.
Oh shit!
And the wind and shit was coming in through the door, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like this, like it was the most intense shit I've ever, kind of been through like that at the time. And I was like, "Man, this is pretty serious." And the power went out. So yeah, we lost electricity probably right, a couple of hours into the storm. Stayed, we just stayed in the living room when the sun. Came when the sun started to come up, the wind was still getting really, really, really bad. And when the storm moves through, the wind changes directions, right? Because you're getting a different part of the storm. And I think that morning is when the wind hit, and it started blowing trees down. So I mean, we have 100-foot tall pine trees,
Oh shit!
all over the all over the yard, all
Yeah.
over the property, and so it started snapping them in half. It's just they would lean over so big they would just break in the middle, and the tops would fall down. We were just hanging out in the living room, and one snapped. That was kind of right in the backyard, landed on the top of the house. I remember sitting on the sofa, and the whole fucking house shook, and everything in the pantries, like all of our kitchen, just shot out of the pantries onto the floor. I was like, "Fuck!"
Is that why you guys weren't upstairs?
Well, it's just we don't have upstairs.
Okay,
It's just
gotcha.
one-story
Okay.
house, right? And dude, all the shit, all pots and shit, all the food just came flying out the cabinets, and we're like, "Fuck!" Like this is serious, like this is a big deal. And it was just pretty much that was it. It was just silence, right? No power, and you could just hear like pow, like in the woods, like you just hear trees snapping, just pow, pow, just hitting them the ground.
Whoa.
And dude, there's just hours of that, right? Hours of that. And so, luckily the trees, so there's like one that fell on the back patio area and kind of broke some shit. Some fell over our fence. One snapped, and it fell on the kind of like corner of the house, and it hit like the peak of the roof. It like the top of it fell down and slid down the side of the house and pulled all the power, like the power box and everything off the side of the house. It ripped all that shit off, landed on our air conditioning unit. Like, dude, it broke a bunch of shit. And I remember like when it was over, when like the winds kind of died down, but it was still rainy. We went outside, and it was just like, holy shit. Nothing but like you couldn't smell anything but pine. It's just like pine. That's all you could smell.
Because they broke?
Yeah, it's just there were so many trees broken in half. It's like the whole air, all you could smell was pine. I'll never forget that. And yeah, dude, that was it. Couldn't go anywhere. We walked out to the street, and like the highway to get to down to our driveway, it was just trees. I mean, it was just covered in trees. Like you couldn't do anything. You couldn't go anywhere. There's nowhere to get out. So, we fired the chainsaws up, dude, and we had to cut the tree off the side of the house, that day, that evening, when we could get up there, cut it all off so it wasn't resting on the house. We left all the other ones alone because they were just falling on shit. Then we got into the truck, drove out onto the road, and just started cutting trees, bro.
Just moving out of the way.
Just cutting them and pulling them with the truck, moving them out the way. I mean, we were out there cutting trees and limbs for hours, and we cut through one of them, and through the trees you could see the fire department was on the other end, and they had a group of guys, and so we fucking just met in the middle, clearing the road. And they were, they came on through, and they just kept going down the road, clearing the roads. And yeah, dude, that was it.
What are your thoughts at this time? Like, how was your dad? Was he keeping it calm? Or?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just one of those things. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. You just put your head down and you do it. And I think for me, the biggest the most stressful thing, that I can remember at the time was you had no phone. None of the phones worked.
Yeah.
You had no electricity. You had no way of communicating with anyone. I had no idea where where my mom was, where my girlfriend was, where my friends were. You couldn't communicate with anyone. The only thing we had was the radio in the pickup truck.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would sit in the truck with, and let it run and listen to the radio, and hear the news reports about what was going on in New Orleans and the fucking levees breaking and flooding and, all this and that. You hear all this shit. I'm just like, there's no way. Like, this is crazy. Yeah, dude, it was days. We sat there for days. Thankfully, we had a generator that we could run. And so like we ran, our house had 2 air conditioning units. So like we could run the AC for like 2 hours and then we would have to turn it off.
So it was hot?
Oh, dude. Yeah. Yeah. It was super hot. And, we had, we could run the water pump. Cause like, they're out in the country, but they had their own water well.
Uh-huh.
So like, you just turn the faucet on and like, as long as the water pump outside had power, you could use the water.
Gotcha.
It wasn't hot, but
Mm-hmm.
you could fill pots and shit up with. It was just, we did that every day for probably 3 or 4 days, just literally cutting trees, picking up shit, trying to get stuff together. And, then we needed gas.
Yeah.
We're like, cool, well, we need to go get gas for this generator. By that time, most of the roads were open. People had cut their way through to get out, and we ended up getting into the pickup truck and driving north. And I don't even know where we were. I don't even know, but it was in the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of nowhere, like somewhat central Louisiana. We just had to drive until there was electricity.
Mm-hmm.
It was like one of those things, like we're just going to drive north, like northwest.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as, any place we can find gas, we're going to stop and fill our gas cans up. And I remember we stopped at a hardware store in Mississippi, like probably southwest Mississippi somewhere. And I'm sitting in the parking lot in the truck, and my dad was inside, and my sister and my brother-in-law walked out of the hardware store. I had no idea that they were there. Had no idea, and like we randomly ran into each other, and we're like, "What? Like, what's going on?"
She was already older and moved out, or?
Yeah, So I have an older sister. She's 4 years older than I am.
Got you. Okay.
And they were, I don't know when she got married.
Yeah,
but her and her boyfriend, they'd been together in high school. They're married or whatever, but they were together, and they were staying at his family's like hunting camp somewhere
Gotcha.
out there, right? And we just randomly ran into them at
Crazy.
this time, dude. It was like the fucking weirdest shit ever. So we got what we needed, and we got gas, and we went home and got in touch with, I don't know, my mom somehow. Went over to my grandma's house. That they didn't live that far away from me, and my uncles and stuff were over there hanging out. My older cousins were in town, and dude, after just being in the fucking wilderness with no electricity and nothing for like a week, I was like losing it. It was like, dude, it was because it's like, even still the phones didn't work, like you literally couldn't pick up the phone and call anybody. You had no you couldn't watch the news, you didn't know anything that was going on. It was literally just wake up, clean up.
Yeah.
Like wake up and start, get to work.
Rebuild.
Right. And it was just, it wore me down pretty hardcore. And so I went I made my way to my grandma's house where my uncles and my cousins were. And, I spent some time with them, and one of them they were going to Baton Rouge, to Lafayette to get supplies. They were like, had a truck with a big, gas drum in the back of it. They were going to fill up fuel, and they were like, "Yo, you want to go? You want to come?" I'm like, "Yes, I definitely
Just get me out of here.
I definitely want to do that. Anything that doesn't involve me, cutting trees, I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't care." Dude, it was bad. Like I would get up and like I would go and sit in my Civic in the driveway and listen to music in the middle of the night in the pitch black, because it's like the only thing, it's all you could do. So I went out to there with them, and we bought, they bought more drums, and we filled them up with fuel and stuff like that, and just listening to the news. When the mayor of New Orleans was on the radio, cussing at everybody. I listened to that shit live. Like,
what do you mean?
Well, he was just, the mayor and the people didn't think that, the government and the state was doing everything that they could to help everybody, and they were pissed off and frustrated. And at this point, days in, they're still, people stranded in their homes, and we listened to the radio at night, and it was like the radio local talk shows, and they would have people that would call in, and they would be like, I'm stuck in my roof. Like, this is and they would just give out their addresses over the radio, and it'd be like, I've got 3 people in here. We're stuck in our roof. We can't get out. The water's coming up, and there's nothing that you could do. There's nothing that the radio hosts could do. They were just, jotting their addresses down and trying to give it to the emergency workers, right? And
oh my God.
Yeah, dude, it was all night. Just people calling in saying that they were trapped, and that, that they needed help. And it was heartbreaking, dude. It's tough. It's tough as an adult thinking about that stuff now. Like back then, the gravity of it didn't really hit. Because
definitely
you're involved in your own stuff, and it's different now. As an adult thinking about that kind of stuff is tough. A lot of people lost a lot of everything, and they never got it back. A lot of people never recovered. People moved away, never came home. People lost family, never saw them again. I mean, it's sad. It's really sad shit. And I'm thankful that we made it out relatively easy compared to some of those people. You know what I'm saying? And I can't imagine going through that and literally losing family and stuff. It's insane.
Is there still areas right now that are not rebuilt?
I mean, it's been a long time. It'll be almost 10 years. Well, no, it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
It's been,
14.
Yeah. There are areas of New Orleans that never recovered, that people just wrote off.
Yeah.
Like New Orleans East, like the big theme park, Jazzland was Six Flags. I mean, that shit went underwater. Everything broke, and they never did anything with it. It's still left abandoned to this day.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that whole area, I mean, dude, it was severely damaged underwater, and it just nothing ever happened. If you go down there now, it's just like vacant land. There's just nothing there.
Now, after that happened,
Yep.
say like the last 6 months to a year after it happened, what was the energy like in that area? What were the thoughts? How did people feel about what happened?
Yeah.
FEMA, the government.
It's my experience with it is probably going to be a lot different than others, especially we weren't in New Orleans.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And but I think the community overall was pretty resilient, and getting back to normal and wanting to kind of get things back to normal. It's weird. It's weird being in the position to see your everyday life change, right? And wake up one day and you always pass that store, right? You've been going to that store since you were a boy, right? Like whenever you were growing up, you would always do that. And then after the storm, that didn't happen, right? The place was closed or was abandoned or whatever, destroyed or whatever, and things changed. And I remember going through the town that I lived in and just being like, fuck, like there's so much stuff that's going to be different from now on, and that happened in New Orleans.
Yeah.
The city was never the same. And, I grew up visiting New Orleans. I never lived there, but I would always go there with my family. We went to the zoo, the aquarium, to, downtown, to Mardi Gras. We did all the things. I consider New Orleans like my hometown, That's where my dad was born, and we have family that live there, and so it's always been a close place. And it's never been the same. In a bad way, I think, but in a good way too. You know, like New Orleans is a lot nicer now than it was 15 years ago. That's for sure. But people struggled, dude. You know, I mean, it was tough, and it took a while. I mean, we stayed at the house for 24 days without electricity until the power came back on. And I remember the day the power came on, it was like, what? You know, you're just like sitting in the living room, you know, like doing nothing. And by this time, like, we had family that had come over and people that didn't have a place to live, people that were from New Orleans that were friends of, you know, my parents. You know, they had come to our house and they were living with us. And I was outside. I don't even know what I was doing outside, but I remember hearing like the air conditioner kick on, and it was just like, and I was just like, well, the generator's not running. No, we have electricity. It was like, dude, it was like, you know, you could see the power people down the street, and like you knew they were coming. You know, it's like they're coming. We see the trucks. You know, like they're coming. And dude, it's like this shit like that you don't think of. It changes you. You know, and Katrina was a big eye opener for me. I think as an adult, you know, just to take life seriously and stop fucking around. And you know, it did. Afterwards, I worked with my dad for a while. The hybrid was in a weird transitional period of moving and the shop being damaged, and Will and the other guys that were running it moved to Florida for a temporary period of time, and were running the website and the business on out of Florida, out of a condo and stuff like that. And you know, I took a break for a couple of months and worked with my dad and did disaster relief, you know, and we did like the tarping on the roofs, like blue roof tarps and stuff. Cause I mean, a lot of places where we lived didn't necessarily get water damage. It was the wind that destroyed a lot of stuff. Versus like, you know, when you go further south in New Orleans, they got wind and water, which is even worse. Right. But yeah, we did disaster relief. You know, he had crews, you know, working for FEMA and doing stuff like that. And, you know, that was a really significant turning point for me personally, because I made a lot of money doing that kind of stuff. You know, if it's one thing, the government isn't stingy, right? And well, I guess that's not entirely true.
When it comes to certain stuff.
Yeah, when it comes to certain things, but you know, we did the Blue Roof stuff. It worked out really good for everybody that did it. You know, the guys that were up on the roofs doing the labor were making a ton of money. You know, we managed a lot of the crews, and you know, we made good money, and it was, you know, that period of time, and I was like 19, something like that, and worked for a couple of months and made a ton of money, life-changing money.
Yeah.
You know, money that gave me the ability to do other things than like struggle, right? And not, let's say struggle, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you.
It gave me the options to, you know, to move out and, you know, to get my own place and build the car that I wanted to build, which, you know, made it on the cover of a magazine, and do all this stuff. And it was all, you know, early on, all because of that, right? It kind of all snowballed and it kind of all evolved from there. But, you know, after that, I built my EK, and, you know, we started doing that stuff. That was kind of a turning point too.
Dude, that's wild, man. I appreciate you touching on that, because Hurricane Katrina is something that's always had my attention. You know, I don't think a lot of people really realize the significance of it being out here.
Yeah.
You know, if it's not in your backyard, it kind of really doesn't register in your mind, you know?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, look, they got storms that come through every year. You know what I mean? And they have storms, and I think that probably maybe aren't as devastating and long lasting as Katrina, was, but there are certainly, things that Mother Nature will. I mean, fuck, look at the fires. Look at the fires. It's kind of the same thing. It's just different, right?
I was talking to my wife, and I said everybody used to look at California and think like, "Oh, I'm afraid of earthquakes." It's like, dude,
Right.
I've never ever been afraid of an earthquake
Yeah.
because I've only experienced maybe one or two that were anything significant. But now it's like fires.
Yeah.
This is 3
It's
years
wild.
in a row.
It's wild.
And the first year when it started was the Thomas Fire. This road that you're on, at nighttime, you could see the flames on the mountains.
Wow.
You're probably talking maybe 3 miles to the like the foothills of the mountains, and
Jeez.
they were just on fire.
That's
it was the
crazy.
craziest shit ever.
Yeah, that's super scary.
So when I wake up today and the car like has ash all over it, it's kind of something normal to me now, which is terrible.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about it, me and my dad, and I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. Whatever is going on here doesn't make sense for there to be fires all over California.
Oh.
It's not like there's a fire here and then 10 miles away there's another fire, which would make sense.
Right.
The air would take the ambers or what have you. When you're talking fires 400 miles apart on the same exact afternoon, like what the hell is going on? I don't know what's going on with this fire stuff, but it's right here.
It's wild, man. I don't. My neighbor's house burnt down randomly, like 2 months ago.
No shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they don't know what the cause was?
Yeah, they said it was something in the attic, I guess, that sparked it. I mean, like, my house is 3 years old. So is his. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Something was weird, but yeah, it was that's another story.
I think that's a different podcast.
fucking that shit was, I don't know, man. I've never been near a house fire like that, but that shit was wild.
Yeah.
That was scary shit.
Yeah, and then when they had those the fire here 3 years ago, I say 3 years ago because it was literally like 5 miles away where the damage was started. I had a buddy, and I seen on his Instagram that he was posting up pictures, and I guess it looked like it was his home. So I texted him, "Hey, do you need any help?" I went over there to help, and it was his sister's house, and his sister's house was the house where the fire stopped before it got to her house.
wow.
So they were turning off the fires of the neighbor's house because it was still smoldering.
Yeah.
So I'm over there helping, and
Jeez.
then after we finished that house, it took a break. I went walking down the block. I still have pictures in my phone, dude, and it's like a war zone.
Wow.
I'm in somebody's backyard on their furniture, like their pool furniture. The whole entire house is burnt down. And it's so eerie because everything is quiet, and all you hear is the smoke detector. Beep, beep,
Dude.
beep. And in the front yard, the car's just burnt down.
Yeah.
It's wild, dude.
That's insane. It so in the early times, or right after Katrina, when we got hooked up with the contracts and stuff to do the disaster relief, we were allowed into parts of the city where normally people weren't really, you couldn't really go, maybe only if you lived there, right? There really wasn't a high traffic area, but it was probably a month later, after most of the water had receded and been pumped out of the city. And I'll never forget the smell of the interstate driving. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. It just is like garbage, like just stale. I don't know, man. I'll never forget the way that it smells, but it's hard to describe. It was disgusting. But you see the areas just covered. I mean, everything's covered in mud. I mean, cars sitting on top of homes. Just cars on top of each other, cars stacked on top of each other, buses stacked on top of cars. I mean, like, I've never seen anything like it before. And it's just, that's how it was, when the water went down. I mean, like, that was it. And, Army or National Guard or whoever, the police, the fire department, the first responders or whatever were searching the homes, they have to go to every home. They'll look in every room to make sure that, there weren't, people in there. And you could tell they would go out onto the front door and they would spray paint with orange paint, X's, and it would say like, how many rooms are in the house, how many people were found in the house, whatever, like, and they would spray paint all of that on the door. And you could tell, just by looking, like if you were driving down the road in like one of the streets, right? And you could look at the houses and you could look at the markings and you could tell in what house they had found people just by the writings on the door, And dude, it was wild, And part of my job out there is what I did. I didn't get on the roofs and do that sort of stuff, but we surveyed, homes for damage. So, if you had a damaged roof or something, and you could submit your address, to FEMA or whatever, and then FEMA would send out a representative of a contractor and, Army Corps of Engineers, guy to basically verify that the home was damaged and that they needed work and so forth and so forth. So, we would, every morning we would get a stack of work orders and we would go out and we would go to these addresses and, look at the house and, look at the roof and, look at the damage, and you would draw it all out and you'd walk around the house and you'd measure it with the thing and, just draw out where the damage was. And that way you would have to submit that. And, the Corps of Engineers would say like, yep, this is legit, like we'll pay you to do this much work, whatever. That's how you got paid. But yeah, we're out there walking around and, with the stick measuring these houses, and some of the houses that people were in, but some of them they weren't living in, but they still wanted their roof repaired, right? Just in case, like if it started raining again or something, they didn't want their shit to get wet again. So a lot of the homes were not necessarily abandoned, but people weren't living in them, but they, we were still going out there to do work.
Yeah.
And we were in the backyard of this house, dude, and me and this other guy, his name was Lloyd, which is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
But, we walked around the side, and in the backyard against the fence, there was a white shirt, and I was like, dude, like, I'm not going to go over there, but does that look like a body? Call the police. Sure enough, coroner came out. There was a guy stuck against the fence in the backyard of one of these houses. And it wasn't like the guy, it wasn't them that had the work, that requested the work or whatever. It was like the house on the other side of the fence. It was, somebody in the corner over there. I was just like, fuck, I can't go over there and do this kind of shit. And, it's just shit like intense, that you never forget. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's just things, and it's just the scale of it. It's just like every road you go on, every house. It's not like one is nothing was spared. And especially when you go further east towards Mississippi, we did a lot of work out there. In some of the houses that were still standing. A lot of them weren't. A lot of them were just they vanished. Mm-hmm. Down in the eastern part, and it's probably the worst area where the most severe damage was like you would go stand by the water. It was kind of like a lake. Yeah, I guess it's the lake. It's part of like the side of Lake Pontchartrain an area.
Gotcha.
And you could drive down the road and it was just deserted. It was just like a road, right? Like it was like a road that went to nowhere. There was a lake, and you get out and you stop, get out of the car, and walk out, a couple of feet, and look down, and you'd be standing on tile floor, and there would be nothing. It was somebody's home, and the only thing that was left was the tile floor. You know what I mean? Like it's just for miles and miles and miles, just nothing, just flat, The only thing that was left from some of these homes that were built over water was the pylons that held the house up. That was it. Everything else was gone. You know,
Damn.
It's insane. And it was just, and it went on for miles, man. You know, and it's not like, you know, it's not like a couple of houses. I mean, it's literally the entire area. And all of those homes, you know, everything that was left of them was piled miles away, you know, and then you would have, you know, a 50, 60 foot just mountain of plywood, you know what I mean? Just piled up where all the water pushed it and just pushed it all into an area, right? And you would drive in and it'd be like mountains of just debris, just mountains where the bulldozers would come in and just clear it and it'd just pile it up. It's insane, man. I mean, it's like shit that you... yeah, I'll never forget some of that shit, man. It's wild.
Dude, that's fucking deep, man.
Wildest, yeah, I mean, it's wildest to see that kind of stuff and you know, and hope to God I never have to see that shit again, you know, or that really nobody has to go through that stuff. Because, I mean, it's, especially down south, it's kind of the mentality. It's like you're born here, you live here. People are always like, why do you deal with that shit? You know, why do you live down there if you know you're going to flood? It's like, dude, it's home.
Yeah.
Fuck it. You know, like we this is where everybody wants to live. It's where we like living. It's where we grew up. It's where we're from. And that's it. You know, you're going to rebuild. And that's the mentality I think that everybody's got.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know, maybe it's the same. If your house burns down and you're left with nothing and then you get your shit together and then you rebuild a house in the same exact spot, you know, like maybe is it smart? Maybe not, but fuck it. Like,
yeah.
You know, that's what you're doing.
So after all of this happened, do you think that it, well, I'm sure it did leave an impact on you, but what did it make you think about life, like before it happened and after? What are some things that you appreciated that maybe you didn't before?
Yeah, well, I think, it's hard to say because I was still young.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was still young and I didn't know anything and I was naive and, you know, it's like I've grown up a lot since then, just personally in life, you know, as an adult and as a father and stuff. And, but I think the biggest thing was just you know, you can't take shit for granted. You know what I mean? Like you can't think that you got it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because you never know. Like, you know, just a few years ago, my house almost flooded, you know, and I mean, we had crazy rain and this was 2016. So we were in our house for about a year and a half, you know, brand new house. Never thought that we would have any issues like this. You know, it's not in an area that's ever flooded before in history. And, yeah, I mean, the water was probably, I don't know, 60 feet away from my house. You know, I mean, it was serious shit. We had to leave. You know, I stayed at my wife's aunt's house for a few days. Hybrid almost flooded. You know, the streets, the water came up to the front of the building. I mean, we shut down for like a week because of the water.
Yeah.
And it's like the same thing that was going on in Houston. You know, it's just rain. You know, you get 40 inches of rain in 3 days.
Shit's going down.
It's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, and it's going to pool up and it's going to flood. So it doesn't happen often, and you know, they say it'll happen once every 100 years, but I don't think that's true. I think it's going to happen more and more.
Yeah.
But
I feel you, man. Dude, I really appreciate you sharing that story, dude. That's super deep.
It's life.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's got their own stories. But you know, on a lighter note, I think you know, things have improved in the area. You know, if there's any positive takeaway, I think it did a lot of good for the city in terms of, you know, just showing how much people care about, you know, everybody, and there's a lot of community, you know, stuff that comes out of it. Although there were a bunch of terrible things that happened, I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's usually what's highlighted, and that's what we see from our end over here. You know.
Yeah. It's. I don't know. I guess that's the media in general, but
yeah, that's another
story. That's another podcast. Right?
So let's get back into hybrid. So
sure.
The company ends up moving to Baton Rouge.
Yeah. So after Katrina and all that stuff, you know, it shook out how it did in 07, 08. We really got, you know, we got our focus, on track, and it was the decision to just continue to make products. And by that time, we had acquired kind of a knowledge about what our customers wanted. We had a working e-commerce website for the first time, and we were selling things on the website, which now you can do it with the click of a button. But back then, I mean, dude, we've had probably 5 or 6 custom built websites with all kinds of solutions and this and that. I mean, like, it was never good enough, and we were always changing the layouts and the looks, because it was never really what we wanted. So that was kind of an evolution. That was a big part of the business. Really getting involved with forums, and getting involved with the community, like our customers and potential customers, and just asking the right questions and doing the right things for the business had a really positive impact. And then we knew we needed to make new stuff, right? We needed to make other parts that were going to help customers do these swaps, make these case swaps better and stuff like that. And that's when we got into like making shifters, making cables, and fuel systems, and designing our own regulators, and all of the proprietary stuff that we sell now. Is kind of when that stuff started.
So as far as case series goes, say like for EGDC, EK, how far are you guys, if not there, to being 100% the supplier for everything needed to do a case swap?
I mean, we've pretty much had the same packages for like literally the last 10 years, 10, 12 years, something like that. I mean, we make everything, we can supply everything, but engine mounts, headers, and axles, we make everything else.
Yeah. So somebody could go to the website and buy everything.
They need. Oh yeah. You can buy turnkey for sure.
Sick.
No problem. Yeah. I mean, for CRX, EG, DC2, EK, EM1, EM2, all those.
So let's get into the Del Sol, because that's that's one car that I really loved.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that Del Sol. I believe it was Import Alliance.
Yep.
And that car,
Import Alliance 2009.
Yeah, that car was something that I'd never seen before, like that style. That's my style. I mean, as you can you can tell.
Yeah.
So that car has always been in my top 3 engine bays.
Yeah.
I loved it, man.
Yeah.
And then when we decided to do the heavy in the streets, that was my inspiration. Was that car. And talk me into that, how that one came out.
Yeah, that car was kind of random. It was one of the things. So I took a hiatus from hybrid around 08 ish, 08, 09. Went back to school for a while, and decided that I was going to try something new, but then I said fuck it, and then ended up coming back, and so when I came back, one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to build a car to bring to a show. I wanted to build a demo car, and Will said cool, like let's do it. And so I started looking around, and that I would say all of them, but most of the cars where we live suck.
Yeah.
They're all, junk, clapped out, fucking, nothings. And I picked up this Del Sol for super cheap. I mean, probably a couple $100. I don't even really remember. It had some issues. It had been wrecked before, but the dude said that he had fixed it, and, all this and stuff. I was like, well, cool. I don't care about any of that because I'm going to fix it anyway. We got the car. A guy from Florida reached out, said that he wanted to paint it for us. So he came and picked the car up in a trailer and painted it gray, and I had the wheels and stuff on it, and in hindsight, I'm not going to judge my past selection of wheels and tires on that car.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It was like a thing at the time, right? It was like one of the things that I thought was kind of cool at the time, but then turned out I regret it immensely. But we widened the fenders on it and flared all that, and we bought the JDM front end and put that on it with the one-piece headlights and all that stuff, and painted it gray. And the idea for the engine bay kind of came. Will and I were sitting around talking, and I wanted to do something that was kind of like plain on the outside, but really special under the hood. That way, you really only got the full effect of the car when the hood was either off or open. And I had been kind of experimenting with like brake line tucks and wire tucks and stuff like that. Like when I built my Civic in 2005, I repainted the whole car, repainted the inside of it, did everything in the bay, but didn't wire tuck it, didn't relocate the battery or anything, left the brake lines the way they were. And after seeing the stuff that I'm going off on a tangent, but I'll get back to the
yeah.
But randomly one day at a car show when I had my orange Civic, I met a guy from Mississippi that had a green Civic, real similar, and he was also had a K-Series. And it was super, super rare because there were no one else, where I lived that had a K-Series swap car. Like mine was the only one. And his car was really nice. And we parked next to each other randomly at this meet. And he opened his hood, and I'm like, damn, like this dude don't have no brake lines,
yeah,
no wires in here. Like this shit is sick. And come to find out, he was buddies with Chase from Chase Bays.
Gotcha.
And so I'm like, oh yeah, like I know Chase, like that's cool. Like I'd known him, but I'd never met him, and I'd never seen like any of his cars, but I knew who he was. And he's like, yeah, like he was from Alabama, and he did all the work on his car. I was like, dude, this thing is awesome. So I went back to I drove my car back to the shop, and the next week I had the motor pulled out of it, and all the fenders pulled off. And I was making my own engine harness for it, and mounting a Braille battery in the back of it and doing all this stuff. Anyway, and so fast forward to the Del Sol, I was like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do all stainless, brake lines, everything's tucked, no wires. We're going to hide the fuel lines. We're going to hide the regulator. We're going to do everything. We're going to hide everything, shave everything. And it'll look like just a motor,
Yeah.
And so we ended up doing all that, and kind of at the same time, we met this artist, a local artist that he's in Baton Rouge, and he does. I don't want to call him a graffiti artist because I think that doesn't do him justice.
Yeah.
He's a really talented painter. He does, he does logos for buildings and does artwork for art shows, and he does his own thing. But this dude is mad crazy with a paintbrush, and spray cans and stuff. So, he worked at a sneaker store or something, and sold shoes or something, I don't know, or skateboards or something like that. And I got linked up with him through a friend of a friend or whatever. And so he came to the shop one day, and I'm like, look, man, I've got all these sketches. I want to do the engine bay this way, and I think I want to do this with these colors and this and that. And he was like, okay, cool. And I'm like, cool. If you want to work something up, you draw it and send it to me, I'll check it out. And he was like, yeah, whatever you have is cool, whatever. He was so chill about it. I was like, okay, all right, man. And so the car came back from getting painted, and the whole car was painted, but the engine bay was still primed.
Yeah.
And so we had 3 days to put the car together to get it to Import Alliance from when it showed up as a bare shell.
Shit.
just with paint. I mean, literally no carpet, no seats, no suspension. The engine bay wasn't painted.
Yeah.
The motor wasn't nothing. And so we stayed up for 3 days, and Mark is the guy name's shout out to Mark Fresh, by the way.
Hell yeah.
He's he's super cool. But dude, he went to town, he was just like, cool, what colors do you want? I'm like, yeah, that color looks cool. And he would like put some on and he'd be like, what do you think about this color? I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And he just, dude, got hella creative with it and just went with it, you know. And the only thing I wanted was like, I wanted our logos like on the front, and like, you know, I wanted our originally he had our name, and he did it all with a paintbrush. He like literally, you know, painted all of it on with a paintbrush, like all over the firewall. And
Yeah.
I was like, that don't look right. And I was like, do it again. So he's like, all right. So you fucking just, I'm thinking like, cool, he's got a sand. All I do just spray paint it all over it and start it again. Like, just fucking wipe the canvas clean, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was not really what I was used to. I mean, he was like filling cups full of paint and slinging this paint on it and like spraying it and letting it run, and he was like wiping it with his hands and shit. And I was like, I was like, you know, and it was, I don't know, but in the end, he didn't really matter what we like. You know, I gave him like kind of the pointers as to like kind of what I wanted on it, and then he just took it and like, he did everything, you know. And like there was the monkey on the shock tower was like part of the eyeball of like of a monkey, and there's like a boom box in there with, I don't know, just like random stuff. That's just his style, you know.
Yeah.
That was just what he liked. And then we cleared it that night, let it dry, and then the next morning we put the motor in it and
Wow.
put it all together. And then we needed to be in Nashville for like, I don't know, noon or something. We had to be there no later than noon, and so we ended up pushing it on the trailer like that morning as the sun came up, you know. And I slept in the back of the truck for the whole entire way to Nashville, you know, because I had been up working on the car for the last 3 days. Yeah, and that was it. I mean, and the motor, as far as the motor goes, like, we got a set of Kinsler ITBs. I had the ram tubes or the horns and the valve cover powder coated like a mirror, because no one would do chrome where we are. So the closest thing I could get was like a chrome-ish powder coat. And yeah. I mean,
What was the reception like when you guys took the car out there?
oh, I think a lot of people loved it. A lot of people. I mean, put it this way: that car alone started a lot of relationships that I have to this day. Tim,
yeah,
you know,
shout
Tim.
out to Tim.
I met Tim from that car because it was in the booth, and he rolled up on his scooter with his camera and started taking pictures of it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this dude's got a badass camera. Like, and I was like, hey man, like here's my card. If email me these pictures, you know, like if you have any pictures, if they come out good, like email them to me.
yeah.
And he did. He went home and emailed them to me, and we started talking on Instant Messenger randomly, and then became super good friends.
Hell
and
yeah.
then offered him a job, and then he moved down and started working for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the Del Sol is a cool car. I think in hindsight, there's always cars that you're not proud of, in terms of like quality.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You know, it's like I'm always trying to be better, right? You try to build cars, you try to build them better, make them look nicer. You try to do things differently, improve on the last ones. And I think that the Del Sol it looked really cool in pictures, but it wasn't that great.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't that.
the engine bay.
It never really ran right. I mean,
Really?
well, it was so low. I mean, the in the pictures, like it was featured in Honda tuning.
Yeah.
And the car was literally on the ground. We pushed it through the parking lot to get some of those pictures taken, and the car would get stuck on rocks. The oil pan would literally would get stuck on the road.
Yeah.
So we would have to raise the suspension up, move it where we wanted it to, and lower it down as low as it would go. And in some of those pictures, the car's literally sitting on the ground. We couldn't move it. So.
Yeah. I just loved it, man. As soon as I seen it,
I liked it.
I loved it.
Yeah, I liked. I think it came out. I think it came out good in what we wanted, kind of in the design and how it was finished. It worked out good. And when we were at Import Alliance, and like we knew the car needed to be repainted, so we're like, fuck it, just let people sign it.
Yeah.
And so like 2,000 people signed the hood, and like thousands of people signed the roof.
Yeah.
And And then whenever we wanted to get it shot for Honda tuning, Rogers was like, "Nah, you got to repaint that shit."
Yeah, hell yeah. Shout out to Rogers, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had to get the car repainted before it got shot. But yeah.
When we were building the Heavy in the Streets EG, that was my inspiration.
Yeah.
And it's so funny in this community, man. Like, you can't even be inspired from anybody without anybody saying that you're copying them, right? So right out the gate, I try to make it as known that car was my inspiration, because I knew that that's what was going to come.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So when that car came out, were you guys getting any people messaging you about it, saying that this was a copy of the Del Sol or anything?
When your car came?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, honestly, I didn't really see a whole lot about it. I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing stands out to me. I remember seeing pictures of the engine bay. Maybe when the car was done.
Yeah.
And I think I saw it at IBOC a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed it because the fucking doors were
the Lambo doors
fucking flipped up on it. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I mean, I don't know. I noticed it, and I think that like some of the pictures on it, either you or somebody was tagging us in it. And, you know, and I mean, it's your car. Do whatever the fuck you want. You know?
No, it was.
That's what it is.
It was dope, man. I really liked it. And that car, it always just left a memory in my mind. And then when it came time to do a fun project, you know, because all my other projects never been fun. They were something like, you know, you're trying to achieve perfection, which doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't.
But shout out to that car, man. What ended up happening to it?
We pulled the motor out of it, put the motor in something else. Car sat for a while just as a shell.
Mm-hmm.
Like we sold the seats out of it. Sold the wheels, I think, and just kind of pulled the money out of it and put it into other things that we needed. And then, I don't know, some guy on the East Coast bought it and apparently turned it into like a fucking drag car or something. I don't know.
It's still around, do you know?
I don't know who owns it. I don't know where it is. The last time I saw it, it had like some kind of like built all motor K series in it with slicks on it or something.
No shit.
Yeah.
Guys, anybody listening, if you know where that car is, let me know. I'd like to see what it looks like now.
Yeah, I don't know.
So fast forward today. Can you tell us a little about Hybrid, what you guys got going on, and what we could look forward to in the near future?
Yeah. It's hard to say because, you know, I think that this past year we've really turned a new leaf, or really a couple of years ago now. You know, things were difficult for us for a few years, lots of different reasons, lots of, you know, internal problems, you know, outside problems. But one of the things that we kept going was just the passion for everything that we do, and the love, you know, that I have for what I do. And, you know, when I had opportunities to quit and do other things, I said no.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, nah, I'll just keep doing this. But this year has been really good for us. Amazing. The best year in history.
Sick.
For the company.
Hell yeah.
So, growth over the last few years has been just incredible. Super, super good. Hopefully we'll keep growing. You know, we'll get bigger next year. We've got a lot of good guys on the team. You know, a lot of really good people in the right seats. You know, just to keep innovating new stuff, right? And just not doing the same old shit, right? And just doing what we want to do. That's really it, you know?
So when you say the last 2 years, I've actually noticed that as well. Has there been something that you guys changed in the last few years to notice this difference? Was it a marketing thing, or what do you contribute it to?
I think, it's hard to say because, you know, I'm there every day, right? And I'm there every day. I've got my head, you know, in the sand. working, doing something. I'm always there talking to somebody, doing something, setting something up. It's getting done, and that's what we're doing. I think really I think the biggest change is just having more good people.
Got you.
Yeah. And it's like I said earlier, it's always important to have the right people on your side and the right people on your team doing the right things. It's more valuable than anything, right? You can have all the money in the world. You'll never do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You can't do everything by yourself, and you'll never be the best at everything. But there are people out there that can do things better than you, and you got to get them on board. You know what I'm saying? And you got to treat people right, and that's it. That's if there's anything that I've learned in business over the last 15 years or so is you got to be genuine.
Yeah.
Be honest, and do what you love.
Yeah.
That's what I do, and I don't go around pissing people off on purpose. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure it happens, and sure it's happened before, but I love what I do, and I like cars, and I like being creative, and I like I enjoy meeting new people and sharing the same kind of passion that we share. That's why I was saying earlier, I love talking about cars because it's what I love.
Yeah.
I love talking about it, and I love talking to anybody about any car. As long as you don't have a Volkswagen, it's cool.
Yeah.
No, but really, biggest thing in the last couple of years is just having the right team. I think it's just having getting some of the people out that didn't fit,
mm-hmm.
that didn't need to be with us. That was made the difference to me.
Yeah.
Well,
I've definitely seen a big jump in the last couple of years, man.
Yeah.
And I like what I'm seeing. You guys are coming out with a lot of cool, new, innovative products, and it's exciting, man. Yeah. If any brand in the community is growing, it's good for the entire community.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the industry itself has changed. It's changed. It's changing in good and bad ways, I think. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of talking about the industry, right?
Yeah,
because it's, I think, a bullshit term. It's but the things that we focused on, like K-Series swaps and things like that, the reality is the motors are getting older, they're getting cheaper, there are more parts available now than ever before, so in terms, the market as a whole, you're taking a small slice of it, then you're whittling it down to the people that want to spend money on nice things and not eBay or
mm-hmm.
knockoff shit. That piece of the pie is getting even smaller, so I think that overall, from what I've seen, there are less really high quality cars coming out there.
Yeah.
More just run of the mill shit.
Yeah.
But hey, that's why I like coming to California, because there's always something different out here.
Yeah.
There's always something nice and new, and
well, we're gonna see an example of that tomorrow.
Yeah, and I've just like you've been all over the place, I've seen cars from all over the world, right? I've been to Honda shows everywhere.
Yeah.
Japan and England and Holland and all parts of the country. And I truly believe, just personally, that the best cars are out here.
100%.
And it's just a different. The guys build cars out here with a different mindset.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of, it's a different goal.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's not a, I don't know, I guess maybe it is part of a pissing match to some degree, but it's more of the love. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? They do it because they love it. They do it because they want to do it. You know, not guys building cars with checkbooks. You know what I'm saying? But I guess, you know, arguably you could do that too. You know, if you really wanted to, if you had good taste and lots of money, do whatever the fuck you want.
I mean, real enthusiasts can tell. They could tell the difference.
Well, it's about, you know, like for me, you know, you see somebody's work, you see their project, and you go up and you talk to them, and it's like the people that are fucking living it are the guys that won't let you leave. You know, they just want to talk to you about every little thing, and I love it. I love that shit. I love talking to people like that, you know, that are into it, and they do these things for all these little reasons, and they're cool about like doing this and that. You know the guys that like roll up and they'll park their car and walk away from it, right?
Yeah.
And then like they don't talk to anybody, or they want to hide their shit, or like they don't want to tell you what they got, or you know who did it, or you know they're you know whatever. That's cool. If that's if that's what you're into, you know, like cool. Like build something really nice and just let people admire it from afar, I guess. You know, I mean, I guess, you know, but to me it's not like that. I like to talk about it, you know, like because it's important. It's like a craft and a hobby, and you know, if you're into it, you know, then cool. You know, we can be friends. Like, you know, if you like nice Hondas, then I'm your buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hell yeah.
You know, we could talk about anything, but yeah, no, you know, hybrid's good, man. We're doing a lot of new things, and you know, personally, one of the challenges that I have had to overcome was just getting out of the things that we were comfortable doing. You know, being where we are is, it's an advantage and a disadvantage, you know?
Yeah.
Being so far away from here, being far away from like the extreme East Coast and the North and stuff, and we're sheltered.
Yeah.
There's nothing, you know? People ask, oh, there must be cool cars like down there. I'm like, not really. I mean, there are nice cars, but they're not Hondas.
Yeah.
If you want nice Hondas, you got to go to Texas or Florida or somewhere. You know, there are not many of them in Louisiana. So we're left to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. We're left to ourselves to create what we want, and not have to be, you know, in the competition with, you know, this guy and that guy down the road that's doing this and doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can stay in our own lane and we can focus on the things that we really like to do, which is good, but also not good because it's tough to meet people.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough to get involved with people whenever you live so far away, because, I mean, I've been coming to the West Coast for 8 years now. I think the first time I've ever went to LA was like 2010, you know, and it was surreal going to the IBOC meets back then, when it was still at the IBOC place, you know, and you know, seeing all the people back then, and you know, seeing all those cars, and I had gotten a taste of what really nice car shows were like from Import Alliance, but when I came here, I was really just, I felt like I was like, man, these are my people. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't, like, you come in here and you walk through the show and you see some of these cars, I'm like, damn, like these dudes get it. You know, like a lot of people are like, I don't know, I feel like people that don't come out here like and see some of the cars at these shows, they're like, oh, they only look good in pictures, and like, well, okay, well, you know, I've been coming out here and like, you can pretty much look anywhere in a lot of these cars and they're perfect. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's shit that you don't see anywhere else, you know?
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that, dude, because a lot of people, if they hear me say it or anybody else, they just think we're saying it just because this is our home base,
I mean,
you know?
Look, maybe I'm biased because the style of the way the cars are built out here, the way that, you know, the parts that they put on them, and look, I have pretty much nothing in common with Japan. I'm like the opposite of a Japanese guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just in every way. Yeah. But like, I feel like deep down, I just have this like weird connection with Japan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like it just I love the culture, like in the people and you know the way that they think about things, and you know I can appreciate all that stuff, and it's weird how that translates into like fashion Hondas, right? Because that's kind of like what the I would consider what some of the car shows are, right? It's just like it's like fashion. It's like a fashion show.
Exactly.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Definitely.
It's like it's you know, nobody's racing. You know, nobody's talking about how much power their shit makes. It's like how well these cars are put together. It's like an outfit. You know what I'm saying? Like what kind of shit can you put together? And like you can jam all this stuff together. It's like no, that shit don't work.
Yeah,
like you need to take that shit off. That's too much. Or the opposite of that is like, yo, that's the combo.
Yep.
You know, like you can put these cars together. They're like Legos, man. You know, and you out here. I think it's the right balance of knowing what parts to put on these cars and knowing how to, you know, knowing where to put the details in and knowing how to, you know, it's like. It's right. It just feels right to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's why I always like coming out here. That's why I like, I mean, especially coming to Joey's Meet every year.
Hell yeah.
I try to come out every year. It's tough, you know, being away from home
Yeah.
and being away, you know, from life and work. But it is work. It's also a passion. So I'm thankful that I get to do it. But, yeah, man. I'm excited.
Dude,
I
I'm
like all these
super
cars.
glad that you made it out here today. This
Yeah.
is an awesome convo. You know, over the last however long we've known each other, we've probably had
Well,
maybe
I mean, at least 10 years?
at least, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably had maybe 5-minute conversation
Maybe.
total.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I respect what you guys do, and I'd love
Yeah.
to see the brand grow. And I'm
Appreciate that.
I'm glad that you made it here. We could have this conversation, man.
Yeah, man. I'm glad, you know, glad we came out and got to sit down and chat and, you know,
Yeah.
just talk shit.
And we're about to have a good week too. This is gonna drop on Monday after SEMA, so I know we already had a good trip, and I look forward to see what comes out of that, man.
Yeah. Vegas SEMA is always cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if I could pick coming out here and hanging out with the guys out here and seeing some of these cars, and have the choice of doing that or going to SEMA, it would definitely come out here.
yeah,
Because I mean, SEMA's cool, but it's like if you want to see the fucking 1500 Supras, you know what I'm saying?
that's what it's gonna be.
It's gonna be every year, dude.
Yeah.
Every year. It's every year. It's always like a car that just like it's just too much. And they're
Yeah.
everywhere. But I know. I think the last team I went to was 2 years ago, and it was
Yeah.
like FK8 madness.
Yeah.
It's like every booth had an FK8 in it. Every one of them.
Yeah.
Whatever. But
So, so before we get out of here, can you let everybody know where they can find you at and the business?
yeah, so you can check us out online, hybrid-racing.com, Facebook, Hybrid Racing, Instagram at Hybrid Racing. My Instagram's at hybrid_David. So that's me.
Gotcha.
That's a personal account. I just post pictures of random shit, my own cars and my own projects, and sometimes family and
Yeah.
motorsports and other things. But yeah,
Oh yeah, well,
that's
David,
it, man.
I appreciate you being here, guys. If you like this episode, make sure you show David some love on his Instagram. It'll be listed below, or you can give us a text, or you can leave us a voicemail at the Downtime with Downstar hotline 818-937-3470. Once again, guys, this is Downtime with Downstar. David, thank you so much,
Thanks,
bro.
Frank.
I really appreciate
Yeah,
your
man.
time, man. This is episode 113. We out. Peace.